Go, go, go!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dune Part 1 and Part 2 discussion. It's going to be a spicy desert power panel that we have today.
Yes, sir.
And I couldn't do it alone. This film hit a nerve so much that I had to discuss it with other people who also hit a nerve with them, and we're all very anxious to discuss it for you and with you. And right now, I'd like to introduce my co-host for this panel. Sam from TeamJVS, say hello to the folks.
What's up, everybody? No, Ronan, I really appreciate you for putting this together. This is a official TeamJVS and Ronan Unchained collaboration. This is being dual done on Ronan's channel and on TeamJVS. So please make sure you guys show him some love, subscribe to him. It's about to be a crazy. Say that.
I appreciate it, Sam. I appreciate it. And we got our next host, who also a fellow friend of ours. Matthew.
What's going on? Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this. It's gonna be crazy. That's all I gotta say, man. Let's go. I'm ready.
He came prepared. And he's anxious to get into Frank Herbert all the way. Beautiful. And we have another cinephile among us, another big cinephile who is crazy about Denis Villeneuve, just crazy about him, and I don't blame him.
Yo, what's
Darrell?
going on, y'all? What's going on? I'll try to turn my camera on, maybe not here in a little bit, but what's going on? I am here, presence. Love this movie. Love Denis as well.
Thanks, All Might. We appreciate you.
I'm so happy that I can pronounce Timothée Chalamet. That makes me very excited. It makes me so happy. Like, praise God.
We all thank you for that. And someone who I will speak for my behalf, I think is the expert of the Dune novels of among us. And let's bring him out right now.
Oh, it's me.
And
No, I'm happy to be here. And it's weird for me. You know, I never wanted blue eyes in my life before until I see Dune series. So I'm getting surgery to give me some blue eyes in my life. You know, work on that.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
That was glorious. Oh, gentlemen, it's been almost days after the release of Dune Part 1, and right now we can finally speak of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, we highly, I think I'll speak on behalf of all of us, we highly recommend it. Go see it, and if you're watching right now, go finish it and then come back and see us. And if you already seen it, you know we're about to geek out on a lot of stuff, especially the glorious and big sigh we've all needed for the past few days of the confirmation that legendary Warner Brothers and Denis Villeneuve will come back and complete Dune and Dune Part 2.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, indeed.
So I was so excited this morning. But Jarrell had the biggest reaction than anybody I know in my life.
Yep, that was glorious.
Jarrell ran out in front of everybody and just like, yes! Out into the wilderness, but nah.
And now I can stop justifying this movie to people who say, what do you mean it's only part 1?
Right, I was thinking people being like, I can't even emote unless there's a part 2. Well, let it out.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely go into that for sure.
Yes,
Jarrell had a great conversation with me about people's perspective on this being a complete film and like their thoughts on like it's incomplete or it's not good enough. So we're gonna break that down for sure today and just give our perspectives on it. But
So
all right.
let's start off with part one at least. Let's make it chronological. Part one. We've all seen it. Have we all seen it multiple times?
Yeah.
It's playing right now in my house. I'm trying to get the numbers up.
Beautiful.
Every little bit helps.
I'll start off and everybody can lead off with this. That I think that this film hit such a nerve and connected with me so much that after 3 viewings now, even if I want to go back just to a moment, I'll choose that moment I want to watch, and so for some odd reason I can't stop watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's that the Hans Zimmer crazy score or the way these actors are just playing these characters and how Denis is just taking us to a different world within that short of a distance or time. I find that amazing how much, at least for me, there's rewatchability and you take new stuff each time, especially from Paul. At least that's for me. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys find the rewatchability there or no?
Yeah, I think turn my camera on for a second, but yeah, I think it's definitely is a super watchable film. I've seen it 4 times now in theaters.
Nice.
And it's I don't know. I guess to keep it short, for me, it's one of those things where, like, I've expressed this before, but like 2001 Space Odyssey was really big for me, and Blade Runner was really big for me.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kind of movies where it's like they're more of a experience as opposed to any other way of digesting the film, and that's my favorite kind of filmmaking, where it feels like I'm there in like a VR sense, like I've been transported somewhere. So every time I watch it, it feels like I'm going on a literal trip elsewhere.
Nice.
So, yeah.
What about you, Sam? Matthew Ant?
Yeah. For me, so I got to see it early, and
Same. Yeah.
I had weird feelings after I got it, because I was like, this is one of the most beautiful things I've seen. This is, to me, what the essence of pure sci-fi is, where it brings you to another plane of existence, not just, science fiction moments or not just science fiction elements, but you're taking me on a road to somewhere that I've never been, and I feel like I'm immersed in it. And I think even if it's like the shot, of like Paul's mom looking up at the ship moving away, or if it's like their first time landing on the planet, or I mean, it's just so elemental. I don't know how to really describe it. Like, the score was banging, the cinematography was amazing, the directing was absolutely there. But the thing about it is that they have really great actors in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, Timothée Chalamet, like, low-key is a beast as an actor. And it's like, he's taking this completely seriously. And for me, I was like, oh man, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for where it's going, and it just stops. And like, as soon as it stopped, I was like, I'm conflicted. I don't know what's next, and I don't know where to grab. And I was talking to Jarrell about this, and I was like, this must be how people in the theaters felt at Star Wars: A New Hope. As soon as it ended, and they were like, wait, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the cool guy, just died? And like, you got this kid that has no idea of how to be a Jedi. What's the point?
Yeah.
Who cares? They didn't know about a Yoda. They didn't know that, Darth Vader was his dad. And so I feel like that's how people of this generation is feeling, the same as that way that made them feel. Because that's how I felt. I was like, this is definitely like a Fellowship of the Ring. This is definitely like a New Hope situation.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And that's the impression that this movie left on me. But in talking to somebody like Anthony, that kind of was like, oh, wait, hold on. Wait for it. This is what this meant. This is what this is. It really started to make me more excited, invigorated. I ended up watching it again and again digitally. So, yeah, I went over long. I apologize. Matt, I relent to you.
I'm chilling. I'm just excited to hear what everybody has to say about it, because I didn't really get a chance to speak to too many different people about the movie, except for just different people responding on Twitter or my comment section or whatever. So for me, I will never forget this. So I also got a chance to see it early as well, and 2 hours away from me. So I drove 2 hours away to see this thing.
Wow.
And
bravo, sir.
man, look, it was, how could I turn it down? It was the biggest IMAX theater in North America.
Phew.
In North America.
I saw the pictures, yeah.
Oh man, dude, was 76 feet tall, 100 and something feet wide. It was crazy. But I think for me, I felt like a child, you know, for the very first time, just watching something that really captivates them. And I don't know if it was just the screen or the really crazy speakers, but I was in there. I was like, I haven't been this zoned out since Revenge of the Sith when I saw it as a kid. Like I you know, in my mid 20s. So when I was a kid when that movie came out. So that was the only other time I can remember being so drawn in to a movie. And like everyone else said, as soon as it was you know, I read a little bit of the first book that was released from Mr. Herbert. So I knew that they couldn't possibly fit any of that in this part. So yeah. I was expecting a cliffhanger, but then when it hit me, I'm like, wait a minute, 2 hours and 30 minutes passed already? I'm like, there's no way. And I was like, there's no way this is done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll never forget that feeling of just the awe and the shock of just witnessing it. And like you said, it's an experience. Like it's an experience. It's a moment that I'll never forget that, man. I think it's one of the best experiences I had in the last, like, you know, besides getting married, the last 5 years, you know, but yeah.
I concur with that notion. What about you, Aunt Gold? As someone who's read the books, how did you take it? How did you take it in?
So I'm jealous of all y'all. I didn't get to see it early, and you can tell Sam I was trying to talk about it with him, but I didn't want to spoil anything because I did not know where they were going to stop. I had an idea where they were going to stop, but I didn't know where in that space they were going to stop the story. But I think I told him like there's no way. Like this really lends itself to be a series. If they did the first part, because there's a lot of things taken out of the intrigue and the political Machiavellian type strategies. You could have done a Game of Thrones whole season 1 and just got to the attack, you know, with 10 hours. So I think that what I really liked about it was that it's not a passive experience. This movie, it begs you or needs you to pay attention to every little detail, every little facial expression, everything that's not said. You know, sometimes more important than what is actually said. So I loved it. I was just eating it up. And the music, it helped. I didn't know it was coming out a day early. And so like it was probably one of the best moments in a while, just to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do this now. Like and the music, I just put a new sound system in my media room, and it boomed. It was shaking the PlayStation Tower. The person I was watching was like, is that okay? I was like, yes, it's okay. It's okay. Let it shake. Let it all shake. And seeing this massive scale and something that I really hadn't seen. The original movie didn't really do some of the visuals justice that was in my mind. And even the sci-fi series, which I love, it just couldn't do the visuals that this requires. And so I was happy. I was so happy that even after the first time I saw it, I realized I was replacing things in the book that I read in the movie that weren't there. And that makes sense. Like the story flowed so much for me that I was like, oh yeah, this didn't happen in the movie. So yeah. I was just overall excited. I get why people are jarred by where it stopped. The only thing I can relate it to is I remember being in theaters when the First Lord of the Rings ended and hearing people in the crowd visibly go, "That's it? Like what happened?" And they didn't
literally the same thing.
Yeah, because the concept of a movie coming next year was still relatively. It didn't really happen a lot back then. And then Sam, when I hear reports of Empire Strikes Back, people were confused. Like that's the end of the story. Like that's the end of this chat. Okay, and now we gotta wait 3 years. And I think the 3 years wait is going to be what we're not used to now. Because now we're used to movies being filmed back to back or at the same time and released next year. And I think having to wait however long before they start this up again and wrangle everybody's schedule to do this again, that's going to be interesting how that responds. And I have talked way too long, so.
Can I add something to what he said about the score?
Please.
So, yeah, man. So as a anyone who knows me knows I am a Hans Zimmer fanatic. Right? And as an aspiring film composer myself,
Same here.
oh,
Same.
Oh, yeah.
I got my peoples here. You know what I'm saying? You know, as an aspiring film composer myself, that is my ultimate goal in life, ultimate end goal in life. But someone I've studied like all of his music, everything, even all of the indie films that no one knows about, all of his stuff in the 90s. I bought his courses, and out of everything that I've listened to from Hans Zimmer, I dare to say that this is his best project to date. I think this is his best score.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I can go over and over as to why I say that. But I guess we can save that for later. I guess. But
yeah, I would definitely love to chop it up with you.
Yeah, man, I can talk forever about the different technical aspects as to why I would make a comment like that. But but yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I do think it's one of the best things he's made so far.
I agree with that notion. That's one of the best things that sounds that is him. It doesn't sound too familiar, if you will. That it's branded off, whether it's what you hear in Prestige or the Dark Knight series or even Interstellar or Inception. This is unique. It doesn't feel it's not. It's from the same man who did all the music from all those films, and yet it feels what's the word?
Different. Yeah.
Primal. Yes.
Mm.
Very, very much.
Did he do the chants too, like the religious chants? Did he?
Yeah, they were talking about that in what I was was that interview that I was sent to you, Matt, today?
Yeah, from the Denis Villeneuve breakdown of the Gum Jabbar scene.
Yeah,
no, he Zimmer don't play. He brings in singers and you know people from all over the world for these things.
And that was very important to get this lived-in feel. Like this is a whole universe of these different cultures, different languages, different types of music, chants, religious things like that. All this added up to be, and again, I think this is going to be. I hate to go and call it Game of Thrones. People who watched the first season of Game of Thrones, they were using terms people didn't understand and houses, and people had to actually do active research. And I'm usually against that. I'm usually against that for films and television, but you have to do active research or listen to the lore or listen to this to get the full scope of things. And I feel like you can do that with this world. You know what I mean? You can do that with these different houses, characters, sounds. And they gave that, even if you don't, you get a sense that there's mythos behind everything. And that's something I love in stories, where you have this, it's 3D. Even if I'm only seeing this side of it, I know behind it there was generations of things leading up to
it. Man, you're not alone, Nat.
There's
people that felt that I don't know.
So let me ask you a question about that.
Later.
Am I the only one? Because I feel like a lot of people seem to be shocked about this. I remember just, because, we're reviewers. We do these, we focus on these news and stuff. So we always hear and see things online. So for months, they've been talking about, even Villeneuve was talking about that, the whole debate with at-home release and theater. They were saying, okay, WB needs this to do well on HBO Max so that they can get a part 2. So at that point, I already knew that they were thinking about doing a part 2. And they've been talking about this for a while. So to me, it was a shock to see that so many different people online or just people in the theater were just shocked that, that it just ended on a cliffhanger.
That's the odd part where now we're getting all this information at an instant where it's like that hit the news everywhere. It was even early reviews saying like it's good, but it's just the beginning. Like the Chani says, it was just the beginning. And I forget who I told, but we should not be used to it on a daily basis, but be familiar with this. You guys said it best, Lord of the Rings. That's it. Almost closed in a very respectable way. It almost concluded very much the same as Fellowship of the Ring, where they go to Mount Doom or the big mountain, and they're like, all right, that's our destination. That's where we got to go. This one, they're literally walking to the Freeman's city, and it's just like the future is on yonder. Let's get to it. So I thought that by now we would get.
I didn't see that. Is
that Mondo? That's Mondo, right? Mondo release.
I just know it's a 3-disc vinyl that's exclusive for Dune. I'm pretty sure it's got to be Mondo with that kind of artwork. But yeah, that made. Well, I shouldn't have promoted that because now I'm like, people be like, wait, where did you get that from? You're not from JVS, that's for sure. I ain't got it.
Where's my and you rubbing my hand, Sam. I was like, I need that.
Yeah, I did want to say something real quick because I actually have some pretty passionate thoughts about this. I don't understand why people were freaking out so hard about like I know Chris Stuckman has said something like something equivalent to like I can't fully love this movie because it's incomplete and the sequel is unknown. And I find this a lot of people seem to be sharing this opinion, which I find kind of baffling because like when the Fellowship came out, I don't think that most people knew like, oh yeah, the Two Towers is coming out next Christmas and Return of the King is coming out Christmas after that. I don't think most people knew that. And I think when most people sought out Fellowship, they were like, holy shit, like I love this. This is incredible. Like it just blew them away, blah, blah, blah. It's just interesting that people are so hung up on the quote unquote cliffhanger at the ending here. That's just odd to me because the movie doesn't end abruptly. It's not like a desolation of smog or Smaug, whichever.
What have we done?
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not really abrupt. You can actually tell that it's coming, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Even before it happens.
Yeah.
Especially when your body sort of clocks how long your ass has been sitting there for. But I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is that I don't understand people who is like, it's almost like they can't release themselves until they knew that a part 2 is coming. That's weird to me because the only reason why I'm even excited about the sequel is because of how great fucking part 1 was. You know what I mean? And it doesn't end abruptly, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you. I think people should look at Paul, because I'll say it right now, and we'll talk about our favorite characters. That for me, I think still my favorite characters are Duke Leto and Lady Jessica. But after the second viewing and the third viewing, that I've come to not just root for Paul and like feel for him, but like want him to do good. And I mean, look at where he starts, where he's just like he doesn't want to learn the ways of the Bene Gesserit. He knows about the ploy, and then he's mixed on it. There's that great moment where he starts freaking out in the sand tent, and then you look at him once he says that, like, my future is the desert. That if you take us, we'll go with you. And I mean, by the time you get to them seeing, one of the Freemen riding a sandstorm, he's like, okay, this is the card I've been dealt with, and I just lost my father. And even my father was willing to say, like, if you don't want to do this, I'm okay with it. But the fact that he had that much connection with his parents and with his father, that he's seeing now, like, okay, this is the road I got to take. That I'm not the kid anymore. That was just like, I just don't feel like doing House of Atreides anymore and whatnot. Like, there is an arc for Paul, beginning, middle, and end. Now, is there more to it to look forward to? Yes, but I mean, I saw the matureness of Paul right there towards the end. For me,
Anthony, you were about to say something. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I think it's the investment, right? You emotionally invest in something, you need to know you're going to get payoff. So I think people sometimes reserve that for, like, well, I don't want, because we've had things in before, right? Where things live on cliffhangers or shows don't really continue, and you don't know what happened to like Alf is still getting dissected from the government from the 1980s. So like if you want to invest in something, and I think also, while I can't think of another place they could end it, this isn't like a Kill Bill Volume 1, right? You can watch a Kill Bill Volume 1 and you pretty much get a story that leaves room for more, but you can feel like you ate a meal, right? While we feel like we ate a meal, there was no resolution in a lot of the plots, and because they didn't focus on a lot of the interpersonal plots that you do in the book, there weren't a lot of endpoints to naturally go, okay, this is the end of this part of the story, we're going to the next part. And I think that's fair. I think we are giving it a chance because we are fans of movies, genre, in this thing. We're like, yes, there's more, and there's all these different parts we love. There's somebody that's a casual, passive fan, they're like, I want to like this, but I also don't want to invest in another media thing, and I don't know if I'm going to get the payoff.
I mean, to add to what you're saying too. Have you guys seen like the Hunger Games series, the Hunger Games franchise?
Yeah.
So I remember the majority of people that were watching the Hunger Games franchise are people who read the books, people who read them, and I read them in school. I was in school when these things came out, so I read them in school. And I remember when they were leading up to Catching Fire, they announced that it was going to be a 2-part. So those who already read the book, I mean, it was Catching Fire or Mockingjay? I think it was Mockingjay.
Mockingjay was part 1.
Mockingjay, yeah, Mockingjay. Sorry, yeah. So Mockingjay, when they announced it, they said it was going to be a part 1 and part 2, and that they have to split the book up in 2. So a lot of fans, I remember going to the theater, most of them had their books. I seen people walking in with their books, and like they were all fans of the books. So going into this, we're about 4 movies or 3 movies in. They knew that they were going to get a part 1 and a part 2. But like you were saying, Ed, you have a lot of people who don't read the books or don't really know anything about this or never even really watched the trailer. And they're like, okay, Zendaya's in this movie, Timothée Chalamet is in this movie. We got Javier Bardem. We got a bunch of people in the scene, we're about to, take my girlfriend on a date, have a fun time. And then, you watch the movie and you're like, so I will say to that, I do agree with you on that, just for the fact that, fans who kind of knew a little bit about it, or at least just a little bit about it going into it, could be prepared for a part 2, whereas those who weren't prepared would be a little bit more disappointed.
And thinking of that,
I just wanted to.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was going to just say the reason why I brought up the Obi-Wan, reference is that, I mean, realistically, when you're watching the first one, it's like, okay, this kid, you're building him up. He's going to be this great Jedi, or possibly a great Jedi. How is he going to know how to be a Jedi if the last Jedi died? And you're like, wait, what? And so I think that for me, and I think other people, I think it is account to the payoff. They want to be able to invest in something. And it's like, you got, which we'll go into favorite characters and stuff, but Jason Momoa's character, I mean, he was a beast. He was freaking amazing. And it's probably one of his better roles that he's done. And he died. And like, he died. Isaac died. Anybody that, people that were just like there for, like even Zendaya, technically she was throughout the movie in flashbacks, but news reporters and trades are like, she was only there for something. Like, look, please. Like, but to be fair, people did go to see this movie to see her story. And so for them, it was like, well, daggone, you killed everybody, and maybe you see Zendaya, but I don't know. I don't have enough to invest. And I think that is where the trigger was. But the more you actually embrace the film and more you actually understand that there's so much more to anticipate, and you actually appreciate this as cinema, I think the more people really rally behind it. Because I think that honestly, especially now looking on Twitter, like there's so many people that are excited for the second one. So many people that are just like, I gotta have it. And even those people that were kind of like, oh, I'm on the fence, I don't know. Like they were like, yo, I need to see that. And I think it's just more so like they want to have that payoff and seeing, okay, now it's only Timothée Chalamet's character and Rebecca Ferguson and Zendaya. And that's it. Where is this going? Like, what is the Emperor? What is the Emperor connected to this? Why is, Rebecca Ferguson's character doing what she's doing? Why does she put her son in this situation?
Cahoots,
for people that don't know, they're trying to assess this from an outside perspective. And I think that's really what it all boils down to, in my opinion.
And I think you're right about that, because a lot of the posters were floating heads, right? They were floating heads. You have these actors that you're gonna like. If you're somebody who likes film, one of these groups of actors you're gonna like in this floating head poster. And since you have majority of them die or not really be in this part of the story a lot, where's your investment, emotional investment? And the other thing they didn't really do, which kind of surprised me, is choices. I'm not complaining, but they really didn't let you spend a lot of time with the quote unquote antagonists or villains of the story. So again, like you might have a Joffrey who you hate, and you're just waiting to, when is Joffrey going to get his thing? You really didn't get you didn't really see a lot of Batista. You didn't really get to see a lot of the Baron. You didn't really get to see a lot, or the Emperor at all, right? Which is kind of shocking to me.
It's mentioned,
yeah. And so you pretty much spent a lot of time with the hero characters,
right?
And then most of the hero characters are gone. So what are you invested in?
Right. Especially if you were looking for like if you were looking
Mm-hmm.
at this movie like it's gonna be a fast paced, like action, you know, like no, like this is a slow progression and it's a deep embedded story. And to your point, even though Skarsgård did his thing as the Baron, like every scene that he was in, he nailed it. I'll talk about that in favorite performances in a second, but you know, I think the other turn of this that I can say on the positive side is Denis, even though we never saw the Emperor, his presence was felt. You know what I'm saying? Like the weight of what is really happening and the Game of Thrones side of like the dissension and everything that's happening is felt. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's like if you're looking for an action-based movie and you're not trying to actually invest in what's happening, then you might give up on it before you even comprehend what's really happening. And I know some of our friends that legit gave up on the movie without even trying. So yeah.
It reminded me a lot. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I know some major reviewers listening to reviews today, and a couple like Grace and all, she was like, "Well, why were their Atreides betrayed? Were they bad people? Were they bad at governing?" And I was like, "Did she miss the point where the Emperor was jealous of the house?" Like,
I'm sure she missed many points. But.
Yeah, and it was. And I was just sitting there, and I was just like, and a lot of things that got distracted in a lot of reviews were the white savior complex, and I was like, you really don't understand the story. Like, you really don't understand what this story.
Yeah. Can I add something to that whole Messiah thing? I was waiting for that to come up.
With the white savior.
Yeah. I wanted to add something to that. So I saw a really cool comment. If I'm allowed to read it. I saw a really cool comment on YouTube because a friend of mine sent me a video essay on someone saying that they liked it, but they compared it to Star Wars, and then they said, they're basically saying a bunch of stuff to me that was like, man, like, dude, you didn't sound like you even wanted to try to understand this movie. But anyway, so the person commented and said, you say Star Wars and other sci-fi took lessons from Dune, at least regarding to the hero Paul Atreides, but anyone who has read the book would know that they took all the wrong lessons. Seeing Paul as the hero is what is hindering your experience. He is not. There is none. The archetype of the chosen one existed before Paul in 1965, and Paul was written as a critique of that. He's the problem with being a messiah, not a messiah.
Yes.
And I said, man, I'm like, dude, that is the best way to explain people who were complaining about this movie. Frank Herbert was he was self-aware exactly what this was. Yep. And you wanted to actually write a narrative about that. But I know, and you probably have a lot more to say about that.
Well, one of the things I'm going to explain to people is a lot of people didn't really understand his visions and what was going on.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
How he was, and I was like, well, you understand that these aren't just visions. These are he is seeing, like, if he moves his cup from here to here, that somebody died. That somebody started a religion after he's dead and can commit. They use jihad a lot in the book, right? Something they're probably not going to use a lot in the film. And it's like, does he go on this jihad that sweeps across worlds based in his name? I think there was a part where he talks about they would worship to an altar of my father's skull or something.
Yeah.
Or even I'm blanking on his name, Jesm. That the gentleman on the right on the screen.
Yeah.
Or left, wherever you're. I don't know how it looks to y'all. But they didn't understand why he was talking to him. It was like, well, he saw a possible future where this guy was his friend and was going to battle with them and things like that. But if he moved this way, this happened. If he moved this way, she might kill him. If he moves and it's he's not just battling against the Baron. He's battling against the future and how his actions trickle down to generations, 1,000, 3,000, 4,000 years after he's gone. And it's a very interesting aspect of the book. And so it's not the same. And I saw another thing when people were complaining where it's like, well, there's a lot of diversity, but we didn't elect all the diverse people. They all died. And it was like, you're really missing the point of Dune. Like, you're really missing the point of Dune.
Yep.
And even in the books, race isn't what we think of now. And matter of fact, there's only one person of fair skin ever described in the books. Most people are described as mixed and how their tones are, or race isn't a thing. Race is not a thing in the Dune universe. And it just it shames me that they're going, when I see a review of Eternals and they're like, yeah, one of the positive things about this movie is diversity, But then they go to Dune and be like, well, but all the first people got killed, and it's like you're only seeing part of the story. Let's see the whole story. Look at the whole story and see how these are 3D characters.
I love Javier. I love him.
That was also another part. They didn't explain what he was doing there, and I felt like that probably confused a lot of people too of what his actual function was. But I don't know. I just think it's frustrating because people aren't giving this a chance to breathe. I think and just absorb what's
I
there.
feel like I'm talking a lot, but there's like
I feel like I'm talking a lot.
I know, man.
That's okay. Express yourself.
It just really baffles me. It goes back to what Jarrell was saying earlier too, with people just being, rejecting this. I feel like I can't speak on behalf of everybody. If you're allowed to process things the way you want to process it, you're more than allowed to do that. But for me, it just baffles me. And I'm not trying to mess with, say some of people's intelligence and their level, but it's like experience is data. Okay. And data is everything. And data is everything to me. Everything that you do is data, right? Everything that we've seen in the past from big franchises, from like we mentioned a lot, the Lord of the Rings franchise. We look at Harry Potter. We look at Game of Thrones even, right? These are things that, and even Star Wars, these are things that were inspired directly from Dune, right? And we can talk about Akira Kurosawa movies, yada yada. We can get more into that. But my thing is, just from looking at those things, and especially Fellowship of the Rings, I remember showing it to my wife about a year ago, and she watched it because she'd never seen any of them, and she watched it. She's like, "What? That's it? I don't know if I like this movie." And I'm like, look, we've all seen these over the years, right? If you've done any little amount of research on Dune, you would know that it's a massive franchise, a massive story. And, even if, and like Jarrell said, it wasn't like an abrupt ending. You can tell when it was ending. You can obviously see that it's setting up for something else. So to me, to get so upset about certain things like that, and then bringing in stuff with the white savior stuff, which I felt personally was a little reaching, just because I didn't see it. I'm all for calling out nonsense, and I call it out when I see it. But when you understand the books and you understand and certain things, I don't know.
I understand what they're saying with this film, which isn't about like the size or the race of the colors. It's just that chaos is on the horizon. And what is everyone going to do? Are they going to think individually or as a species, as a race, or as a galaxy for that sake? That's the whole point that I dug about the premonitions or the flashbacks, if you will, of Paul saying they're just chaos. Chaos in our names.
It's like, is this sad, man?
Yes,
thinking about it.
Yeah, it's literally a warning. It's just like if we don't all come to an agreement or whatnot, that we're gonna kill ourselves. And it's like the perfect example is look what's happening with the Freemen, and look how they look how they view at us after the Harkonnens left. We're still outer worlds, but what makes us different from the Harkonnens? Well, this and that. But at the long term, will there be change or no? I mean, it's not just one person, but that's.
Wait, have you read the books? Have you read the books?
I read only up to chapter 7 of the first book.
It's amazing you just got that, because a big theme, and I'm not really sure if they talk about it in the first book, but the golden path is what Paul and the people after Paul are going towards, is what possible future decision can we make when we work together to get to where humanity survives. Because right now what they're doing, humanity is going to die out. It's gonna because of wars and catastrophes and everything like that. So they call this thing called the golden path, which is the possible future where humans live if they get their shit together.
Right.
So it's amazing you picked that up.
I mean, the Bene Gesserit said it, that we've been planning this for a while, generations, to find the right person.
Oh, that's an interesting picture right there too.
Yeah, that's so metal. And it's the right, but let's do this.
I'm trying to say a lot of stuff.
And I appreciate it. But I also want to we make sure that we cover part 1 and part 2. But let's do this. Let's all of us choose out our favorite characters and favorite moments of the film of part 1, and let's say why we have that favorite character in said moment. And let's start off with anybody but me.
All right, yeah, I'll go.
Go for it.
Favorite characters? I'm not sure if I can speak to this too specifically because I feel like I love most of the characters, but
Yes.
I mean, oh man, I guess probably the character I'm closest to is Paul Atreides, because I find like the chosen one complex, interesting. The Matrix 1999 is my favorite film, and that's a huge motif in that movie. But I was probably as Paul, just because there's so many layers to Paul. Like to me, he reminds me of like a young Napoleon or Hannibal or Alexander the Great, something like that, coming into his own, Or it's almost like we're watching him before he becomes a king, if you will. There's almost like a Batman Begins like quality to his story. So, but at the same time, it almost seems like he could almost become like or may be becoming like a villain or like a tragic hero, which really fascinates me.
Right.
I find that kind of storytelling super rich. Where the main character at first you're like, oh, it's a good person, and then kind of like in Taxi Driver, where you get halfway over, you're like, oh wait, what? Who have I been watching for the past hour? That's some of my favorite kind of main character storytelling, just because you can get really complicated, really rich, really emotionally complex. So, yeah, probably Paul's my favorite. And what was our favorite moments in the movie?
A moment or two.
I'm just gonna pick out one for now.
Right.
What's favorite moment? One of my favorite moments is at the very beginning when Paul, like at first he speaks and it's just like the walls of the theater shaking, and then you hear him say, "Give me the water," right? And then from there to where he sort of is flipping through like a book, learning about the Fremen.
Yeah.
And the narrator is talking about how the spice is a sacred hallucinogen, and that not only that, but like it is the most valuable resource in the universe because it without it there could be no interstellar travel.
Yeah.
And that just like totally inflamed my imagination. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen storytelling like that since Lord of the Rings. So that chunk of the movie is one of my favorites. Gives me goosebumps.
Sam?
Man. So I mean, I could easily pick Paul, but to me, it was between Duncan, Idaho, and the Baron. So the thing about the Baron is Skarsgård. I don't even know how to really describe it. You know, you lose yourself in a character and you just kind of disappear. Well, he just flipped whatever switched is the next level to that and just went all gross and vile and maniacal and like everything that he was doing was all about himself, about money and business. And he did it in the most interesting way while still being gross and sick. And I was just like, yo, he is killing this. Every scene he was only in 3 scenes, only 3.
Yeah.
And like every single moment, like I never forget the scene where, Oscar Isaac's just hunched over.
Yeah.
Like bare neck. I was like, how you gonna do this man like this in his own house, dog? Like even in the freaking sci-fi series, like he won't butt naked. Like he just couldn't move. And I was like, yo, they are disrespectful. He's sitting there eating some food and this man, and then he sits there, does the doctor dirty and just all up in Oscar Isaac's face, like, yeah, you know what's about to happen now, right? I was just like,
you know who's next.
This man,
his voice,
he really
man.
was enjoying himself playing it. And it's not like, he's had a smile on his face. Like you could tell, when somebody's just chewing up script or chewing up scenery. And also aesthetically, the way his body had to have like the mechanics of his body movements. I was like, that is freaking dope. So the Baron for me, I mean, he had like a lot of memorable sci-fi moments, like to me. But I know somebody else is gonna say something about Duncan, so I'm gonna just say Jason Momoa, he killed it. He did better than I could have imagined him to do. This may be one of his better low-key roles. And he just seemed really sincere about his character and what his character was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's just weird because I mean, I know Anthony can't talk about it. Well, we can talk about it if y'all can hear about talking about it. But I was like, Paul, wait, hold on. Because that's when I started getting confused about Paul's visions. Paul saw, Duncan, in a different setting that I was like, wait, is he gonna die or is he gonna live? Because this didn't happen. And then when Paul killed the guy, I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's just not. But like, no, this seems like Duncan, Idaho is very pivotal to this story, but he just died. And I was like, the last time something like that happened, I quit the anime, which was Attack on Titan. When Eren Yeager freaking eaten in the 5th episode, I said, forget this joint. I'm done. And I feel like there's something with Jason Momoa's character, Duncan, Idaho, that is very reminiscent and connected to that. And another thing about Jason Momoa, he had one of the dopest scenes. This man, when the attack happened, he got his sword, he started going to work. And then, like, there was a chopper to the left, and he just cut dudes down. And, like, they looked like they were trying to get Buck. He was like, you ready? And they just ran and let him have it. And they were like, you know what? We're not even going to shoot at you.
Yeah.
Have it. And I was like, okay, he's the man. He's the man. Like Denis set that scene up.
So perfectly. when he saw those men and he was like, to hell, dogs.
To hell, dogs. Yeah.
They was like, you know what?
You got it, cuz all you, bro.
we don't want that smoke. We don't. And he was a dope pilot. And he was a dope pilot. I was like,
yeah.
This dude.
You got to shoot a Samoan. You can't have no fist fight with no Samoan. So you gotta get in the world that like that. You gotta.
Oh, yeah. Also, I do just want to say, because I have not read the books and I do not want to know anything moving forward. Whatever happens, I'm coming from the books. But I do have a theory about Duncan, Idaho, but I didn't want to hear I didn't want to hear that I was right or something, or hear the answer.
Oh, that picture.
Yeah, I'm still reading too, so I don't want to know anything.
Same.
I'm still reading.
I do have a big theory about Duncan, though, that Sam was alluding to, but anyway.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, that's it for me. Whatever else y'all got. Who's next? Favorite character and best moment, or favorite character's best moment?
It's me.
Yeah.
So I'm in the series of just the book, Duncan Idaho is probably the most popular character from the series, and I think I couldn't contain it. And I ruined something for Sam, so I can't go too far. But if I was just to go on this movie alone, nobody phoned it in. From Leto to Jessica. Yeah, like nobody phoned this in, and it's really easy to ham up some of these scenes. And like I think most of the Barons that we've seen on screen, too, the Barons they've hammed it up. And this, and that's not the feel I usually got from the books. It was just the Baron was this calculating, foreboding presence, and these are just numbers to him. Like, what about the kill them all? Like just this thing. But I gotta say, I've only seen the actor that I remember. I've only seen the actor that played Paul in one other thing. Timothée, what's his name? Timothée
Chalamet.
Yeah, and that was the Netflix movie The King.
Oh man, he killed that, bro. He was so good.
And I heard that he fought for this role, and if he just showed whoever was casting the King, he has a regal presence. Even when he's being a boy, he has this regal presence about himself and how he carries himself and how you see it. So if you just had to go based on just strictly acting chops in this movie, not the character and the whole story, like he just brought something to a quiet character, especially since they didn't do the internal monologue like they did in the first movie. That you paid attention, you got a lot, and I think this begs repeat viewing of what he brought to it, because he is a leader. He is the son of a duke. Like it just oozes out of him. So I got to give it to him. But Gurney and Duncan, those are some of my favorite characters from the story. Just what they brought to the tale. So yeah, I can't really say too much because I'm trying not to spoil it for people. So yeah. I feel like I said nothing. I feel like I just said a lot but didn't say anything. So
Nah, you get it.
You good, man?
yeah.
Matt.
My favorite character from the movie is Hans Zimmer's music. No, I'm just kidding. but it is a character.
It is.
I do think it's a character. To touch on the Baron a little bit before I say my comment, one of the things I loved about Stellan Skarsgård's like performance of the Baron was just that in the book they describe how disgusting he is as a person. Like they describe how nasty this man is in detail. And I highly recommend the audiobook, by the way, for those who really want to read the unabridged version. Is really great. But they describe it, and I feel like just from seeing those scenes, I'm like, yeah, man, he's really embracing that. I don't think any actor did really like poorly at all. I mean, these are all A-list actors and actresses that came here and did their thing. But to me, Lady Jessica, Rebecca Ferguson, man, that is she has been recently she's actually become one of my favorites since Dr. Sleep. I had my eye on her from The Greatest Showman musical, hit or miss. If you're not into musicals, you're not gonna like it. But her performance in it was good. But Dr. Sleep was when I was like, okay, this lady has some depth to her. And I'm seeing this, which will tie into my favorite scene in the movie, was the Gumdra Bar scene. That entire sequence was pretty much ripped out from the book, you know, word for word, as close as it can get. I mean, just the little scene with her outside showing how afraid she was for her son. And like, I think literally my favorite part was when she was shaking her hands and like breathing and trying to calm down. I was like, this woman is like amazing. She's genuinely terrified of, you know, what is going to happen, you know, with her son potentially, you know, he could potentially lose his life by doing this trial. And I think that entire sequence, the presence of it, and I love Denis Villeneuve's breakdown of it on YouTube. I think that's one of the things that made me even like it even more, was just describing the, you know, Greg Fraser. Shout out to Greg Fraser, cinematography, man. Like he really did his thing. You guys might know him from like Rogue One, and he's doing the Batman too, actually. So that's another thing.
Yep.
But Greg Fraser slapped harder than my granny on this, bro. He was going crazy on the scenes, the darkness, the I can't believe I just said that with a straight face. Anyways, but he really slapped it for real. Like everything was just great about it. And
why does man look like Nightwing right
here? Timothée was good. Timothée was great as well. I mean, I can go on and on about these actors, but definitely Rebecca Ferguson as Lady Jessica, Bene Gesserit incarnate, just did an amazing job.
I also recommend, if you haven't seen it, to you guys or anybody in chat watching this, go watch Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. That was the first time I saw her, and I was just like, I am in love with her, but she could kick my ass. Nice, the White Queen. For me, my favorite characters or favorite moments, to me, it's still I'm mixed on it. It's still a mix between Lady Jessica as well and Duke Leto. The weird thing with Oscar Isaac is I'm a big fan of his ever since Ex Machina and Most Violent Year and Inside Llewyn Davis. He's just been just a rocket star for me. And when he was cast in it, I was just like, okay, I've read the first 7 chapters. From what I remember, those 7 chapters, let's see how much I know there's stuff they're going to cut out, but let's see if at least the spirit of the Duke is there. And from what I recall of reading, I think Oscar nailed it. And to give credit to both Rebecca and Oscar as Lady Jessica and Duke Leto, respectively, that's the unique part about it, about their roles, is that they were parents in this big political power struggle story. And the fact that they kept almost each scene that they were in, they were trying to balance it out. Even this moment right now, he's like, all right, this is Arrakis. This is my duty now. And he takes a look at Paul.
Yeah.
And at Jessica, just being like, all right, we're okay. We're all gonna be fine. Yeah. I am not worthy. Oscar Isaac. And I it's just the fact that I'll say this for people who be like, not a lot of character arcs and a lot of people like Jessica, Jason Momoa died and whatnot. I always said this about this movie. For the smallest lines some of these characters got, or the small time they had compared to other characters, you remember them and you understood their characters. For example, Gurney, he loves poetry, and there's moments where you can see him like, he's a poet guy. He's the war master, but he cares for Paul, and there's moments where they shine. And I love this one.
The warrior poet.
Yeah,
the warrior poet.
And I appreciated what Duke Leto was doing, and the fact that there was moments where he's like, I don't, he knows what would happen if he can't deliver the spice, but he doesn't give a damn about something breaking down or the honor of the Mentat. That they try to kill his son. That's what's more important to him. Or he wants to get his men out of that machinery before the sandworm comes to kill him. I love the moments where he was like, you don't see just a man with an iron fist. You see a leader who cares for the people of his house, and even though he knows he's doomed for this planet, he wants to make sure everyone's okay. And I thought he made Virtue exciting for me, and I was heartbroken that, spoilers again, he died. And which I will complain this is the first nitpick. The people who made the trailers, why did you show me shots where you see red light on him and I could tell that he was gonna die? Yeah, I've only read the first 7 chapters, and even though knowing that, I was just like, please don't show me that in the trailers. Give me some hope to see like if they're gonna change stuff or not. But I remember from the beginning, those trailers just showed Oscar just being stabbed and whatnot. I'm like, he's a goner. God damn it. But my favorite moment of the film for me probably still is when Stilgar meets Duke Leto and all that. Which, again, the tension is there, and it's just tiny. You don't know what's going to happen between Atreides and the Freeman. And you see everyone reaching for the guns, like, oh, shit, okay, it's happening. And then, Duncan has to be like, okay, thank you for your
body's moisture.
We return it as it was given. And everyone just, okay. So I love that. I love that scene where he could tell that Duke Leto was an outer worlder, but he wasn't a Harkonnen. He's like, I won't hunt your people, won't be hunted down as long as I have reign in this planet. He's like, that's honorable of you. I must go. That's all I have to say to you.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yes,
because he still, even though he didn't have the power in the room, you could tell he was also a leader, and he handled that situation of somebody that didn't have the power in the room, but he took some measure of control over that interaction. And I love seeing dialogue like that.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, but there was one thing you just mentioned. In the books, they pretty much tell you in the beginning, in the books, every chapter begins as if this is a historical piece they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so they pretty much tell you that the Duke's going to die. But it was one thing that always stood out to me, and it was like one of the historians is like, it's overlooked. The Duke is an amazing father. I'm messing up the word. It was like he's an amazing father, which is a character that's often overlooked about all these events that happen. And I feel like that's what Isaac like narrowed in on. Like he's an amazing father to care. And there was another part where he's like, forget about the spice. And Hines looks at him. In the book, this whole dialogue, like, oh, he cares more about people's lives than he does about the equipment. And they didn't need to do all the dialogue, just the looks and how I could hear the book dialogue in my mind as they're doing these looks back and forth. So, right. And I'm gonna show it again.
That's what you get from no, perfect.
You're
You
good.
took the word right out of my mouth. I was about to say that's what Denis Villeneuve does. You don't have to say nothing, just a look, or just a smile, or just a sorrow look says 1,000 words.
Right. So I gotta talk about this because I wanted to talk to Matt about it because Denis was talking so much about Rebecca Ferguson and of course the actress playing, but in all honesty, if we really think about it, this man Timothée is legit. He's not actually physically getting hurt.
No,
like there's nothing that's poking unless he just chose to, pull a Shia LaBeouf, which I don't think he did. I think that this man's legit in his mind. I'm gonna focus on the pain
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you the dissection of what that pain is doing to me. Because I think even when Denis was talking about it, like he was like, I wanted him to kind of shake his arm up a little bit just to show like something's happening. And then I wanted his mannerism to kind of change, that he's getting uncomfortable. Then the pain starts. And I was like, bro, this man is acting so well in this scene. But even better than that, the scene where the tent, where it was him and the mom.
Oh,
Because that scene honestly scared the crap out of me. I had to talk to Anthony, because I was like, Anthony, what the heck was he talking about? Like, is this nonsense? Is this the visions or overtaking him? Either way, it was building up to it. You know what I'm saying? He already felt away with his mom putting him in this situation. And even deeper than that, now he feels like a freak, but now he feels a level of responsibility. And he also, in the back of his head, he realizes, like you guys said, my dad that loved me and you is dead. And that realization just hit just like that after he used the voice. And I was like, yo, that scene was amazing. Especially the second time I watched, I really appreciated it. Because they both are just amazing, talented actors, bro. Yeah.
When he used the voice on her in the tent, I was like, I jumped twice. I jumped twice, and oh man, the way how they interpreted the voice was so freaking creepy, and it was just so like, I would dare to say majestic in a way. It's weird to say that.
Say it was like different lines of different generational women that exhibited the same power, and that's what he was trying to convey.
He mentioned in the Gumja Bar scene. I didn't get that far in the books to confirm this or not, but he did mention that that he wanted to show a sense of ancient female presence. Because the whole point is too that they actually hinted on a bit in the movie. They talked more in the books too. They wanted Lady Jessica to actually just bring girls in.
Yeah,
not a a man child. So that was something that was a little bit different. But it was that scene. That whole scene, if you guys have not seen that video, I'd highly recommend watching it, because you can see the passion in his face, and when he talks about that scene. The thing I said to myself was, if he's so passionate about this one scene and he broke it down in so many layers, could you imagine the other 2 hours and 30 minutes of the film? Like, everything was intentional and it was deliberate, and I love that.
So the Bene Gesserits have been manipulating bloodlines for a while. Yes. Bring upon this like perfect being. That's just saying there's other prospects out there if Paul isn't the one, because you were so arrogant to think that you were going to bring about this one. And the bringing the next female in was also not only for the power to be transferred, but also because these is a very feudal society. So marriage alliances, things like that, are very important. And in one point, her having Paul doomed her Duke, even though she had Paul for her Duke. And they described that the Bene Gesserits can choose when they get pregnant. They can choose what they, what gender they have and everything like that. They can control this. There's a lot of things they control with their bodies, even muscle twitches. There's so many things they can do. But she loved her Duke so much, she gave him a son.
Netta wanted a son.
Yeah, you wanted to see one in the air. But the daughter was to help bridge some gaps between the houses, because they're manipulating all these politics, right? These political bodies. And so marriages stop wars. They make political alliances. It's a very feudal system. So her ultimate choice of love disrupted, a 1,000-year plan, but it was disrupted for love. But it also cost her what she was doing it for, in a way. So
I dig it so much. Okay, we are an hour in. Let's do just stuff that we maybe didn't like, or nitpicks that we caught off the film, and then we could geek out about that amazing score that Matthew, I think, will lead the charge on that.
Yeah, I really have some things to say there.
Go for it, Jorah. Go for it.
Oh, with the Hans Zimmer thing, but the things that we did not like, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that or just nitpicks.
So mine they're pretty short. For one, and I don't know, flaws, nitpicks. They're 1 to 2. It doesn't really matter. So I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. But so Batista is like unintentionally hilarious to me in this movie. That's just me. I don't know. But I've seen this movie 4 times in the theaters, dog, and he unfortunately makes me giggle every single time. Like, for example, like I don't actually, let me see if I turn my camera here. So every single time this nigga, like, even when we first see this nigga, like, this is how he looks. This is how he looks when the camera comes up on him. He's always just like, hold on. He's the same face. Like, he's always just like. like between that or screaming, that's what he's always like in the movie. It just makes me giggle so hard. Like the time where he was like, "Ah!" and those 2 balls makes me laugh every time. I laughed every single time. So I didn't even think this is my first time mentioning this, but the whole like eyes rolling into the back of their heads. I'm still a little weirded out. I think it's just because I'm not used to seeing something like that on screen and the way that it's being executed. So that, I don't know, there's something about that just sort of weirds me out. And sometimes it is like unintentionally hilarious. Like we saw like a still image of old dude with his eyes rolled and we all giggled. So there is something unintentionally funny there as well. Another flaw.
The Undertaker.
I was about to say, I'm used to the Undertaker.
Yeah, the Undertaker.
Yeah, there was one other thing that escapes me. What was it? It might come back to me. I know those 2 were standouts. Flaws. This is hard because there's really no real flaws for me. But why can't I remember what the other thing was? If it comes back to me, it'll come back to me. But those 2 for sure.
To me, I think people say it's long, it's slow, and to me, I always said that the pace moved. I mean, yes, it takes its time to tell us and spend time with characters and the points of views are going through. But for me, the movie moved. The one part that I feel I could be like, okay, it stay there for a while, and it just stay there for a while is a couple of times when they were on the Dragonfly ship, just waiting for stuff to go through, or when they get to the siege, which again I love that moment and what the Dr. Kind says and expresses to Paul. I could see people be like, okay, this is where it slows a little bit for me, and to me, what it's mixed. It's weird that sometimes I couldn't understand when some people would say what their lines would say, but what I gather visually, I could be like, all right, I assume they think that this is a bad idea, and that's what they're trying to say, or that Paul's not ready for this, to do this, and we should think of another thing. All right, I think that's what they're saying. So I think sometimes I couldn't understand what some characters would say, but again, that's something that I would give also credit to the actors, where it's like their physical performance or the looks would say everything. So I was just like, all right, I'm trying to hear what you're saying, but you're telling me what you're thinking with your eyes and visually with how your body's moving. So that's something that I was just thinking about. Like, okay, once I've seen it 2-3 times, I'll go to HBO Max and put subtitles to see what they were actually saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was one thing I finally remember what the hell it was. There was one other nitpick or flaw that I had. There's a moment where Lady Jessica, where she's standing in front of this woman who like just suddenly has a weapon on her.
Oh yeah.
And there's a guard nearby just fucking ready. And this woman is trying to give her this sword or a knife. It's like a Chris knife, like as a gift, right? But there's a moment. There's a moment where out of fuck nowhere, where she's like, ah! And every single time I've seen this in the theater, it still just wildly weirds me the fuck out. And I'm just like, I'm not, and apparently this happens in the book or something like that, and that's fine, but I just feel like it just should have been executed differently, maybe, because it just, every single time I've seen that scene, it always just hits me weird. I'm like, oh, what the fuck was that?
It did come off out of the blue, and I was just like, oh, okay, she's freaking out. But then my mind, because I had read that chapter, I'm like, oh, this is where she's in shock because of waiting generations. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they left a lot out from that scene.
Yeah.
In the book, it was really detailed. They actually had a long conversation about everything, Lady Jessica and her. So I know it's not my turn yet, but yeah.
But like maybe if it like went with some kind of musical interlude or something. I feel like something else.
Like maybe like a musical cue to build up and focus on something. Because it's
it was just it was so intense, almost like a bizarre jump scare, and I was like,
because it's kind of like at first you're like assessing, oh wow, she's an assassin. Oh wait, no, she's testing her. Oh wait, now she's trying to rectify in her heart, yo, this may be real. The realization that this prophecy may be true. It's a very important moment, but I can see what you're saying with that. I mean, I kind of was like, maybe for this culture and for this moment, this is her reaction. You know, it's like, I mean, I wouldn't expect them to sit there and spit on the table and say, "Here's your water." I you know what I'm saying? So I kind of let it go. But I can see
was fine. There was nothing cringy or weird about that. I thought that was like hilarious and really clever, actually. But but the scream thing was just like, whoa. Whoa.
Gentlemen, who's up?
I can go. So one thing I didn't like, the movie was too short at the end of the hour.
I needed more.
Wait for the Blu-ray.
But like I said, there's a lot of things they could have put in this movie, and if we knew that the world was going to be the way it is now, I would gladly have done a Justice League Snyder cut and watched this at home for another hour to get more of that intrigue. But that's just personal preference. One of the things I didn't like in the movie was the eyes are on the back of the head. How it is what they call a mentat. I might be talking around, but it's a mentat. They're human computers because religious reasons. There's like you don't think like thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. It was like thou shalt not make a computer in human likeness or thinking or something like that. Yeah. So what each great house has are these mentats that can do vast amounts of computations and strategies and things like that and numbers. That's what he did. He said, how much did this cost? And I think they didn't, because they didn't play that up. They also didn't play out that Paul's one of the rare people that also can access this ability, not to the degree that he can. So at this point, but that's also he's the Duke's son, which gives him air power and right to rule. He's got the Bene Gesserit abilities and training, and he has this mentat-like brain. So, like, he's this combination of these different schools of thoughts and human evolution, because that's what the series were about, is humans to their peak potential in these different areas. So they didn't really play that up, and they had time to do it. And because they didn't do that, you really didn't get... Like, you didn't get that the guy that was around the Baron that died from the poison, he was the Baron's mentat. And they didn't really play that up, so you didn't get the significance of the Baron, with the Duke taking him out, weakened the Baron in a way. So even though he didn't get the Baron, he got his mentat. So I thought that was a missed opportunity in a movie this long. You could have showed that. You didn't just have to show the knife skills. You could have showed some of that too. But besides that, some of the... So I was kind of confused with the Kynes change. Like, I didn't understand what that brought to the movie and what that took away, because Kynes' death scene is different in the books, and there's a lot of information in his death. So it was kind of weird that they did the swap and took away that informational part. I mean, it was a badass scene of her dying. Like, that was a badass way to go out. You have to go out. Yeah. And she did a great job, so I'm not knocking that. It's just I'm curious of why they made that decision, if that makes sense.
So I took that moment, it was because what it looked like she was about to do, which I guess they paid it off at the very end, is she was about to go and ride off on the worm. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, she was preparing to ride off on the worm. She got ambushed, and then she sacrificed herself. It's kind of like paying off something that they had mentioned early on in the movie, where it's like the thumper and then the prospect of where it's going to be with, oh wow, you're seeing somebody legit riding these freaking worms. So I think that's why he sacrificed it that way to do it. But yeah, the actress did a really good job with that
yeah, she's a standout.
Well, Denis did say he was trying to keep it because you got to think, once we're at that point, like shit, we're like at the 2.5 hour mark or something like that. He was saying that he wanted to try to keep it as lean as plausible. And it's like by that time in the movie, it's like shit. Like we're really deep in.
And it was a cool scene. And it showed and it gave information. The thumping attracted the worm, their worship of the worm, their reverence for the sandworms. You got that from that. And like I said, it foreshadowed the ability to ride. Like she's like, how are you gonna get there? And I'm in the desert for home and that. So there's a lot to it. Again, this is just I read the book type of thing. So but besides that, I really can't think of a lot of negatives to this. So yeah.
And I took it that she made a stand there where she was like, I am forbidden to see anything and say anything, but she was willing to help Paul, and that was her last. Where I was like, all right, I'm taking a chance that he might be the one, and I'm gonna take these saboteurs down with me.
Yeah,
there's a cool way to go out.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't have any. I don't have any negatives really. Like he said, my only negative was that I felt it was too short. I wanted an even slower burn. I wanted like a really slow, because I can look
like Blade Runner.
Like Blade Runner. Like look. I watched like 4 seasons of Outlander, one of the most slow burning shows you can watch.
True.
That is one of my favorite shows. I love slow burns when they really take their time to get into a story and really, I don't care. I can sit down for 5 hours and watch a movie that doesn't have one single action sequence. I can do that. That's just me though. But so I wanted a more slower burn with the film. So I mean, I would say that's my only negative. There were certain scenes I wish they kept, like on the way from Caladan to Arrakis. There was very important conversations that they had on the carriers that were taking them to Arrakis. That I'm like, okay, why didn't they show that? I'm like, did they really just cut out a lot of that stuff? Because it foreshadowed a lot of details that would happen later on, even beyond past where the movie stopped. So I don't know. I would say those are just my really only nitpicks. I don't really have much.
Did y'all get the size of the ships, the transport ships? Did y'all understand the scale of the ships that transported them?
They didn't show any of that. That's why because these things were huge.
Yeah, like they showed there's like, oh, we're going, and then it was like we're at the planet, and then they showed like these small shuttles coming out of this big. That was like, because I think it might have been you, Sam. I was sort of like, oh, you could fit like a fleet of Enterprises in this transport, and I didn't get it. You didn't know that from reading the books. Did y'all get the scale of the?
I mean, it felt massive. To be fair. It felt huge because even like
the ground ships.
Even like the first like spherical ship that lands and that black dude comes out to tell them about Arrakis. Like that ship literally was like when you look at the mountains in the back, it's like, God damn, how big is this thing, dog?
Right.
It's bigger than some of the mountains surrounding it, and like the people are like ants in front of it. So it's like,
but you get that as in the transport ship, right? Like you get
right. No, I'm just saying that as knowing how big that ship is, seeing the transport, it's like, I have a pretty grasp that this is massive. Massive.
It was that's I mean, besides some people were able to piece together that, but then like you said, like not, were you able to really get that? And I don't think a lot of people was able to really notice that or even paid too much attention to it. I felt like that scene, especially between Caladan and Arrakis, was very important. So I mean, I would like that's really the only real, I guess, small nitpick that I had. But I'm very like, I would say easy on adaptations because I understand it's an adaptation and there's only certain things, so many things you can put in it. Really, I'm pretty sure there's a director's cut out there, though, just like Blade Runner. I'm ready for the final cut of.
Funny enough, from what I heard of Denis, he is very strict when it comes to cuts. That's why you probably haven't seen much deleted scenes from Sicario or other stuff. I heard from interviews that he's like, no, I am very strict.
I know he's very hard on himself too, especially when it comes to like final products. But I'm just hoping that
I was just about to say, probably a director's cut's not.
I hope so.
I mean, even if it's not, just extended scenes explaining every scene for scene. Like just having his commentary alone is just, to me, is just gold.
Yeah.
But yeah, negatives. Ugh. Okay, so I think for me, it was more so my only negatives came from my first time viewing it. My first time viewing it, I was like, I remember the sci-fi series, you know, and I only remembered it up to a point. And ironically, the movie ended at the point that I stopped looking at the series. And so I was like, well, wait, where's the rest of it? Like, I know they're not going to end it right here, but it's more of a nitpick. I was like, I just wanted more. But I think that it was just more of a lack of understanding what was really happening in terms of Paul's visions. It's not necessarily a negative. It was just more so like I wanted to really know. Like when I was watching the theaters, I was like, I wish I was watching this at home so I could have subtitles. I wish I could go and take time to process what he's really talking about. That's why I know the movie is a masterpiece, because immediately I think I talked to Anthony about like for an hour, something like that, Ant. And we just kind of broke down like certain things. I was just asking him questions. I was like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I was like, the movie expanded so much in my mind the more I unpacked it. But when I was first watching it, I was just like, I have all these questions. And it's like, if I didn't have an Anthony or somebody else to talk to, I could have left really jaded. And being like, whatever, what do I have to invest in, kind of thing. But, outside of that, it's not really any negatives I have. I mean, I think that everybody, as far as the actors, brought their A game. I mean, he directed this masterfully. I mean, some people say it's a slow burn. Some people say that the marketing projected it as to be a certain kind of way to be an action movie. But in all honesty, like, that was your perception going into the film anyway. Like, I mean, I don't know what to say for that. So for me, I really do appreciate this as great cinema. So I don't really have too many negatives outside of that. I wish my man Dunk ain't die, but
yeah, I do have a theory about that though, because there's a few times where we specifically see Duncan with the Fremen.
Yeah.
And, like being amongst them though.
Just looking at Anthony's face.
And,
oh, you didn't want to know.
I
can tell you. I can tell you.
No.
I do have a bizarre theory. I'm not sure why this will happen, but I do think that he's oddly is going to come back. Because it almost like when Doctor Strange was looking at different futures in Infinity War, that's almost what Paul Atreides' visions kind of remind me of. These are like things that may or may not happen, And curiously, a lot of them seem really fucking dark, and almost like villainous in a way. But yeah, I have a weird feeling, especially since Jason Momoa is in the part and he crushed it so hard. And his name is fucking Duncan, Idaho. Look how badass name is that? Oddly, I think he's coming back. Weirdly,
I hope so. Don't say
think
nothing.
Man, that he died. He got slaughtered. He's gone. Just let it go, Jarrell. Let it go. He's dead.
Just saying, it's just a theory.
I'm just gonna mute my mic. Let me get my mic.
Okay. And his response, Jason's response, whenever you go back and watch the movie again, his response to being told that he was with the Fremen, this is really telling, in my opinion, as well. So, yeah.
Right on. Okay. Hans Zimmer, the master of these great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Matthew, take it away. And Jorel, because I know you both are dying.
I want to hear. Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Y'all are so excited. Y'all like,
I was just gonna say I want to hear what you have to say, Jarrell.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Nah, I was just gonna start off real quick. I'm a big composer person, so I'm really big into Hans Zimmer. I feel like this nigga has like hundreds of fucking albums or something ridiculous. It's no joke with Hans Zimmer, and I'm really curious. I think you're the first person to express that this could be like his. Do you mean like this is his best like soundtrack, or do you think this is like his best body of work so far to you?
I think this is his best score.
Okay.
To date.
Okay.
For this project, and if y'all ready to hear my reasons, some of my reasons.
Go for it, man.
So, also, no Time to Die. A lot of people didn't know he did No Time to Die as well, and he did Army of Thieves. Well, he wrote Army of Thieves. The thing about this movie is one of the things that I learned on a technical level when it comes to composing films is that, and I love how Hans always talks about this, is he describes this as asking a question and then answering that question. And that's how he describes his music, being able to, bring you somewhere and then explaining something and then taking you somewhere else. The thing about it, we look at famous themes over the years, we look at greats like John Williams and Alan Silvestri and all these other people who have been making movies, Back to the Future, Star Wars, Space Odyssey, all these great stuff. You hear these great motifs and these great themes that you can remember. But the thing that I loved so much, especially that the sketchbook is just absolutely amazing. But the thing about it is atmosphere. Atmosphere is the biggest thing about this movie, and what the soundtrack brings to this film is atmosphere. I remember just putting it on my speakers and just listening to it and feeling like I was brought to another place. And when you really dissect each track of the score, you really see everything, all the intricate details, all the musical nuances. Everything was deliberate. And knowing Zimmer and knowing his process and understanding the way how he composes film, he takes this stuff seriously, and he's not afraid to challenge himself and challenge other people. And if you look at his his live shows are great, by the way. There's a picture from Hans Zimmer live, but his live performances are just fantastic. And people he works with, like Sheila E., one of the best female drummers of our time, Tina Guo on cello, and the list goes on. When you look at the typical superhero franchise and the superhero type music, and even his work in Sherlock and everything, they all have very similar sounding stuff because it's the man, it's his work. But this, I feel, is the one thing that separates Hans Zimmer that we know to, hey man, I just leveled up. Like, you say you never stop learning, you never stop progressing in life. I feel like this is the one thing that demonstrates that perfectly. This was a story. It was a story. Even I think the Bene Gesserit track too is one of my favorites on the soundtrack. The Bene Gesserit track, Ripples in the Sand, Leaving Caladan, all of them were just I don't know. Like I said, a beautiful story. And I'm gonna stop here because I can just go on and on.
I have a question. Yeah. I got you. I have a question. So for me, soundtrack wise, with the Batman films being underneath, because that was a huge peak in his career. But for me, his best work is somewhere between Interstellar and Lord have mercy, I think I lost the other one. But Inception, maybe. Inception. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My mind's all over the place. But yeah, Inception and Interstellar are his. It's like a kind of a tie between his best soundtrack, in my opinion. Anyways, I'm still unpacking the Dune soundtrack, but I'm curious. I'm just interested that you think that this body of work or portions of it could be higher than that. Because, like, for example, like the songs of Inception and Interstellar have been loved and they gone viral in ways that I didn't know music from a soundtrack could. I mean, you could like look this up on like just say YouTube, for example, but like videos of the song Time from Inception or certain songs from Interstellar. I mean, they have like millions upon millions of hits. Yeah, Docking, it's just unbelievable. If the little kid of me can never imagine the world being blown away by songs from a soundtrack like that, like from a score. Like the little kid me would be like, wait, what? So I'm curious what moments or why you think the Dune soundtrack could be higher than that, because these moments are like, it's like, wow, honestly, Interstellar, I just don't know if he can even outbest himself there. I don't know. I have to give
I have an answer for that, and it's definitely a strong opinion for sure. And I'm with you, like all of those bodies of work that you mentioned are amongst the greats, some of the greatest things we've ever heard in film scoring and composing. So, but the reason it still stands for me for Dune is the key thing for me is atmosphere. Not many people can create atmospheric scenes. Creating atmosphere in a score is a lot of composers talk about this, is one of the most complicated things that you can do, because if you look at any film from like James Wan or like any other horror film, there's like very generic atmospheric pieces and plugins and VSTs and tropes that you can use within a horror movie or a superhero movie, or a very genre specific types of things. But for a sci-fi film like this, normally if you look at Ad Astra, the score on that is like, what is that? You can't really remember too much from that one. But for this, like I said, atmosphere and being able to have your own. I said, I made a joke, but I'm also very serious about it too. Character, like my favorite character in the film, was the soundtrack. The beginning with those, it almost sounds like if you a didgeridoo in the beginning, with a person was doing those low growling. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then when leaving Caladan, and even all of those sequences, to me, I felt just had so many. It's the little things for me too. Just the concept of less can be more, because yes, if you look at time, it's a motif that's just crescendos and builds upon itself and gets to a really grand scheme. It starts with a simple pattern, and then we start to add more layers on top of it. What we do in composing, you just keep on adding more instruments, bringing in more layers, more expressions, and then by the time we get to the end of it, you have this emotional piece that all started from a very simple pattern. And Hans, if there's anyone in the composing space that does this the best, I think it's Hans and Tom Holkenberg, who trained under him, and like Rupert Gregson-Williams, who also worked with him and did Wonder Woman and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I'm rambling, but to answer it, I do think atmosphere and simplicity is the key for this, is why I think it's the best, because he's doing so much with so little. You can use natural sounds. A lot of the stuff was natural sounds that this dude just went in the back of the studio and just started recording stuff, or just had people do this. And even Denis Villeneuve, he explained that he drove his team crazy with some of the tracks in Dune. So I feel like he really this is his best work, for the sense that he really challenged himself to be different than what he has done before in the past. Not saying that it's the other stuff is bad. It's great.
Oh, no.
The Dark Knight trilogy. I mean, the Dark Knight trilogy is the besides Lion King, Dark Knight trilogy is the one thing that made me like, hold up, who's this man?
Oh yeah.
And and I'm looking, I'm like, who is this dude? Because I'll never forget the theme. And then I remember watching, with Bane's theme too. I'm like, hold on, who is this man?
Well, so, even because I still think, like, man, this probably is Interstellar, because like Interstellar, like there were niggas who don't even care about Interstellar that were just like, Jesus, the music. Yeah, that's a really heavy hitter one for me.
It's to the point where so my wife, she's not the most musically inclined person, like at all, period, like at all. Yeah. So I remember I didn't tell her anything about it really. It's just, we did a reaction to it. Well, her first time watching it, and she was watching it, and the first thing she told me, she was like, man, the music. She said, what is going on here? And she's not really one to talk about music at all. So that's when I just get a little smirk. I'm like, yeah, you know it. You feel it. I ride it, sister. You got it. So it was a moment for me where I was just like, yeah, she's feeling what's going on here. And look, Interstellar is hard. And like I said, it's a strong opinion. It's very different. And
Yeah.
I'll stand by it because I feel like in 5 years or so we're going to be saying the same thing that we say about Interstellar for Dune. So, but that's
No, you're probably right, but it's like, dude, like the scene with the waves and Interstellar, get the fuck out of here! Like the music, the chord progressions in that bad boy are legendary, dog.
Hey, look, I ain't gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue you on that. I'm not gonna argue on that.
Dude, the theme song when they're driving through the cornfields.
Yeah, the organ, man.
Good Lord have mercy. But anyway,
I love a good organ. I love the way how Hans utilized organs in Interstellar. It's one of the best things. His music this time was a fusion. And that's what I'm saying. Like
Ambient
atmosphere,
sound,
ambient sounds. That it was very experimental for Hans. Blade Runner 2049. I liked that. Because he also did that. I liked it, but I loved Dune more because I feel like, okay, Blade Runner 2049 was his experiment with that. But this one was where he's like, okay, I kind of figured out what to do with this. This is, in this thing, let me actually.
I can see that.
I mean, because, it's easy. In my opinion, it's easy to make memorable sounding songs. We want, whenever you hear Superman's theme, you know it. Okay. Right. Whenever you hear Star Wars, you know it. You hear Tim Burton's back, you know it. Right. So, but to me, I think that, again, I spoke to many different composers of different levels and different points in their careers who would always say the one thing that's hard to do is creating a perfect atmosphere with music. And
I mean,
so I'm a novice at that, but I think I understand what you're saying. Like when you hear the Joker's theme in the Dark Knight, that not even the theme, that little sound, like
that's like a thing.
It's unnerving, and so like I said, like even for this, like it was parts where it wasn't really music, but it was just sound, and I was like, yeah, I'm immersed in what's going on right now. I feel like I'm there. I can feel it vibrating.
Dude, and to add to, sorry.
No, I was just about to say, like, I would almost, because I'm still unpacking the soundtrack, but I would almost say that the sound design impressed me equally, or even more so than the music. Like, there's a scene that freaks me out every time. Like, I lose my mind every time, where they're walking past this like unfathomably huge spaceship on Arrakis, and Josh Brolin is like Atreides, and everyone's like Atreides.
Oh, the trumpets!
Yeah, and there's a ship that's just making this bass noise in the background, like. And like there's
can I tell you something about that? I'm itching to see something.
Yeah, there's such a mood to this.
90% of the sound design that you hear in this movie is all Hans.
Yeah.
There, a matter of fact, Denis actually talked about it in that same video that we, Sam and I we were talking about. That whole scene where he lifts his hand and you hear a big drop. Yeah, that was a compressed voice. That was like maybe 15 or 16 tracks of one compressed voice. Yeah, layered with reverb and just straight up the amount of things they threw on that one sound. 90% of the sound design was from Hans and his synthesizers,
Jesus,
and analog machines. So that's why I'm saying that's why I'm saying what I'm saying.
I love how it turns. I love that each of these pieces would go. There's a very spiritual, like for me, a favorite of mine is Herald of the Change, when Paul is learning about Arrakis and the Freeman and whatnot. It's so beautiful and spiritual. It's youthful, and then we start off with very primal music, and then the Bene Gesserit music was just a little like, on the toes. Bene Gesserit, my bad. Ben and Jerry's. I want ice cream. That's the thing that was freaking me out. That even before I saw the movie entirely, I remember I went to the IMAX event and they showed us the opening and they showed us the when the Duke and Paul and Gurney go to get the harvester machine that's broken down. That just from those two scenes, it was like 15-20 minute presentation, how it would switch from very spiritual to primal. That was like bothering me and shaking me in a good way, where I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody's saying that much in these moments, and yet this music is, it might as well be the inner monologue at that point. And when they would show the landscape, when it would be rough or it'd be light or dark, I just I can't rank it right now. For me personally, I can't rank which one's my favorite soundtrack or how I put Dune about it, but I'll say that every as much as the great casting was, the photography, the cinematography was, how Denis directed everybody, that score just, it might as well have cut off the 2 hours like that for me. Like that music just, I was on cloud 9. I had not looked at my watch at all, and I was just like, damn, we're already like 2 hours in it, and I'm just in the mood. I'm in Arrakis.
Again, I'm a layman when it comes to the music and sound and all that, but I can say that I remember looking at the behind the scenes for episode 1, and they were talking about like George Lucas was really intent on the engine sounds being different and all this other stuff going into it, and just him having the sound for the engines in the background for these massive ships in this movie, in Dune for this movie, gave you that more of a scale that these were monstrous. If you were walking past these ships yourself, you would hear this thing in the background. And as far as soundtrack as whole, I feel like somebody else could have been lazy and done like just Middle Eastern music on a desert planet.
That's
right?
what I'm saying, man.
And that soft was for this story, for this world, for international audience, that this can be more than just that. And to me, like you said, it's another character. The music is another character in this, another world building block in this. And when the music changed, you knew you were someplace else. You were a different planet, or you know you're in a different group. And I don't know, it just everything worked. Not even like hearing that compressed voice thing. That's amazing to me. That's just, I don't know how typical that is, but that just sounds like genius to me.
It's genius in the sense that because no one thinks about it. Everyone tries to copy people. The beauty about great composers and great producers or great musicians is that people who are not afraid to try things that you would not even think of. Like Hans is the type of dude that would be like, let's say, okay, for instance, one thing so I'll try to break this down in an easy way to understand for those who may not understand it. Jarrell will be able to will know what I'm talking about. But when you're using compression in music, there's a certain limit that you don't want to go past, right?
For sure.
Right, especially when you're mastering and you're doing mixing and compression and like side chaining and stuff. All that stuff is very important rules that you follow in music production. Hans is the type of dude to say freak that. Like he's the type of dude to say compressor, okay, add like 5. Limiter, what's a limiter? Like what's this?
Yeah.
What he's the type of guy to push the boundaries of what is normal and what people would do in a film. And I feel like Denis just knows what he's doing. He's picking the right people for this because as Andy mentioned, like somebody else would have just done like some generic Middle Eastern type music because it's sand, it's desert, and there would be no heart to it because you're like, it feels okay because you're familiar with it, and you're like, a lot of composers, and I was actually rewatching one of the Hans Zimmer lessons yesterday, and he said this: he hates when directors use temp tracks. If you guys don't know what temp music is, when it comes to temp music in a film is when let's say a director has a finished product and it's already edited, he would already take a pre-existing project from a composer, and play it over that movie, and then they would expect the movie to be exactly that way. Hans, the guy,
like stock photos or stock video type of thing.
Well, okay, well,
like it's already done, or this plane is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's the basic concept. Yeah. So in Hans's case, he's had people. He didn't name the director because he didn't want to throw shade, but he was throwing shade. But he said that he previewed his movie and he took music from The Dark Knight and put it in the preview, and everyone's like, man, I want the movie to sound like this, and it pissed him off because he's like, no, every movie that I do, the music has to serve your story. It has to be unique to your story. When someone listens to this soundtrack and watches this movie, they have to say, I've never heard a thing like this before in my life. And again, I think that's one of the things he's done. The icons. I saw the comment. Yeah.
I know it's small, but like I pre-made this, but I didn't orchestrate how we would all line up, and they literally almost perfect. It's really weird. This was destiny, you guys. We were meant to be in this
desert power.
Despite
I'm gonna hold my opinion there, just because, like I said, you get me talking about music, it's over for real.
No, it's fair. It's fair.
Just from a little bit.
Was that?
No, I was saying I learned a lot just from that little bit. Like I said, I don't have a background in that, so just knowing that helps me appreciate. Like I know, again, I feel like sometimes you can just know there's more behind something, and you can feel there's more layers or more mythos or whatever in a story or in a soundtrack or whatever. Even if you don't, it's like when you listen to a rap song or a song, you might not get the full history, but you know there's history behind the song or there's passion or anything like that. So you giving me a little more slice of understanding is really appreciated from my perspective.
Yeah, actually, Matt, I have a super technical question for you.
Let's go.
For the Dune soundtrack, the second song, "Herald of the Change." This is my favorite. This is my favorite track so far. It opens up, but I don't know what instrument it's playing. It sounds like some kind of like flute or something, but I'm not really sure what that instrument is. But that one moment towards like the very beginning of the track, it's like my favorite piece of music from the whole score so far. Anyways,
Yeah, it's a Middle Eastern wind instrument. I can't put my finger on exactly which one it is because there's so many different types of Middle Eastern wind instruments.
Sure.
There's a lot of them, but it's definitely from that region.
Yeah.
It I need to find. This is what I don't know. Whoever played it is what I want to know is who played it. That's what's important to me. This is a sidebar, but if you look, have you guys played Assassin's Creed Valhalla at all, or listened to the soundtrack for the music?
No.
So this is a sidebar, but one of the things I appreciate is when composers bring in players who, and this is why I love Ludwig Göransson as well. Is also another one of my favorite composers. Oh man, he brings in instruments that are dead. Instruments that no one plays anymore. And if you go to like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, 90% of the track is especially the string instruments and the woodwinds and the brass instruments. They're all played from old Viking instruments that no one plays anymore.
Yeah.
And it is beautiful. Like the Vikings, they had a one-stringed instrument that was made from like a tree log and some like weird feathers and stuff. And like they use it as a bass. And they add a whole bunch of, they EQ'd the mess out of it. EQing is another thing in production that's a little that I can go on and on as technical aspects of production, but that's another thing too with Hans Zimmer in this track is the EQ work and just the overall mastering of this. Is man, it's literally a poem. It's poetry. It's a love letter. It's man, it's.
Yeah, dude, the opening to that track, holy shit! It like that's what Dune should sound like in my mind. It's sort of mix of like ancient, but futuristic somehow. Like that's what it should sound like for sure.
And then when the sub bass comes in as well on that same track,
literally
rattles your ears.
Yeah,
the second part, right?
Yes, the second part of Herald of the Change. Yeah.
And that perfectly mirrors the visuals of the movie because we have this movie where you have this great leap in technology, but because of technology, we've gone back to swords. So you have this futuristic landscape where we're still using swords and knives and combat, and so you have this ancient brought into this new, and I don't know.
That's the music. That's the intention of it is to bridge that's the whole point of Dune. You know, AI is outlawed. It's a celebration of the human mind and humanity.
Yeah,
and understanding that and that relationship, but also being in what 10,100 and something. I forgot the year exactly when the movie started.
way in the
future. I think technically it's supposed to be like 20 or even 30,000 years.
Something like that.
It's 10,000 from whatever their date was. And I forget what their marker is. So it's 10,000 from that marker, which is however many thousands of years from our market.
Right.
Real quick, Anthony, because we briefly talked about it and it's not technically a spoiler. Shout out to Ty. This is LT. He was joking, but I did want to bring up that scene because we didn't talk about it. Because my perception when I watched it, I was like, okay, Paul knows how this fight is going to go. And so he's able to counter the guy. But you had said something else that I thought was really interesting about what was happening specifically with that interaction. And, even the foreshadowing of him, had met the guy before. So I was just curious your perspective and on what happened with that fight.
Oh, so what's really interesting with that account? So again, the way Paul isn't just seeing visions, because we've seen how his visions aren't always perfect, right? What he sees, what
Right.
they show us as visions don't necessarily happen. What he's
Mhm.
doing is he's changing. So when the books they have this, and I'm going to butcher the quote, where he says the future is this great big door that as soon as you walk through it, turns into a narrow corridor, right? So you have all these options, and so in this reality, he meets Jameis, who's actually a solid guy in his tribe. They really build up what a great guy he is, and how honorable he is, and what a good fighter, and how he saved people, and he just had anger issues. And so in one future, him and Paul, he mentors Paul. He becomes Paul's friend. So Paul sees him teaching him about the desert and all this other stuff and fighting beside him and things like that. But if he does this doesn't happen. And so he's not only battling the fight in front of him, he's also battling the consequences that go on after that. And even the conversations he's having with her or his mom, even how he wins, right? So one of the things they talked about was, is he playing with him? And the reason they said that was because they realized he could kill him at any point in time. And they're like, well, fighting to death is one thing, but you playing with the guy, that means if you come after me, you're going to torture me and things like that. So how he wins is important too. So you have all these different possibilities, and he's also can see this and learn from it. And so it's kind of hinted that's the reason why he knows how to do certain things, the natural way of way they do it, because he's been mentored. He's gone through that future. He's seen it. And he's like, oh. And so he kind of already has a relationship with the guy that he killed. And you kind of saw that he cared about him when he was dying. He went over to him, and it wasn't just that it was the first person he killed. He grew to knew the guy. It's almost like, Ender from Ender's Game. We talk about how to beat somebody, he had to know him, he had to love him. So he's seeing all these possible futures of what could possibly happen. And the thing in the book he talks about is he's not even just fighting against a terrible future. He's also fighting against a perfect future, because a perfect future dooms humanity to complacency, and we still die out. So the future can't be too good, can't be too bad.
Oh man!
And even sometimes where he sleeps can have all these drastic effects. So, and I think they did a really good job of showing. And I also understand why it could be confusing, but showing that his visions are imperfect, but these are possible timelines. So people try to fight the him versus Luke Skywalker, because Luke Skywalker has a little bit of vision of the future and has really good power. But it's also about, if he realized he couldn't beat Luke, he would make sure him and Luke both die for the best possible future of humanity. And it's that's
so
you never see that in literature or film a lot.
Yeah, the reason why I asked you that question, and this is part of the thing where I said it could be a negative, could be a positive. I'm wondering of a normal casual viewer what their perception of what happened was. Did they think it like me, where it's like, oh, okay, well, he saw himself dying to this guy, and now he's gonna predict what's going on. Versus the way you're spilling it, like I could break it down to somebody like, that guy Doctor Strange, that time stone he's got. He ain't got nothing on Paul. No, honestly, like, because that's a realization of the depths of this character, and it's hard to kind of convey it, even in just this part one. It's easy for somebody that's just like, went to the bathroom, came back. Like, if you're not honed in and really focused on what's happening, or even care to hone in, you're gonna
fly over your head.
Okay, so can I say something about that too? Actually, I keep forgetting to mention this when it comes to this, is that I think those movies that leave a lot of again, Denis mentions this in his breakdown, mental suggestion, because even with the Gumjabar scene, it's described what's happening in the box, and you get to visualize what's happening, but it's like it's like if if you read the book, it's like if you've read the book, you see what's happening, but I feel like movies, especially, and I watched Parasite again last night, from Bong Joon-ho, which is one of my favorite films, man.
Great film.
And I love movies. Some people are iffy about like movies like Get Out and stuff, but like movies like that was one of my favorites. Whenever you go back and watch them, I walk away with a new experience. And I love movies that challenge me mentally, especially if I don't understand it the first time, but I'm able to recognize that it was great. I'm like, okay, this movie is gonna be great, and it's gonna be a game changer, and I'm gonna love it. time to watch it again. I mean, I understand it the first time, but I'll watch it again. But it's just shocking to me that how many people are not like that, and I have to always remember that not everyone thinks like that and receives things like that. They're like, hey man, like when I go into a movie, I need to get the answers now.
But I do think that because I love movies like that specifically, I do think that like during the like the 60s and 70s specifically, film there wasn't a lot of hand holding comparatively in movies today, and I hope we kind of go like for example like the 1980s we've been going through that kind of craze with like Stranger Things or Nicolas Cage's Mandy, stuff like that. It would be nice to sort of get back to the way movies were sort of interpreted in like the 60s or 70s, where there's not so much emphasis on exposition or hand holding, where films are more experiential. I'm hoping, especially with Dune 2 happening, hopefully this is the route we're going.
We have to
this is why, yeah, that too. And like this is why I loved Tenet. You know, like Tenet is a movie that you are definitely meant to experience, as opposed to, you know, come out of the movie with like a checklist and be like, oh, this nigga lost me after number 5. Like you're supposed to let it wash over you, you know what I'm saying? And kind of think about it, have conversation and go back, you know?
I mean, look at like Inception too. I mean, like this movie to this day is still being dissected. I mean, there's a lot of people that are still analyzing that film, you know, it's so, I mean, look, Akasan trying to throw shade in the comments at me, but like, you know, it's the truth. It literally, because look, man, at the end of the day, we're all, you know, everyone.
We all have taste.
We all have taste. We all have the way we each individually experience things.
Sure.
And you know, it's that's why it's good to have conversations like this, because you get to really hear and see people's thought process about certain things, especially people in the comments who may not be, you know, like active moviegoers or reviewers, you know, doing this as a career like what we do. You know, they may not see things the way we see things. So it's always important to remind ourselves, I guess, I'm saying this to myself too, like that people are just different, really different, vastly different.
This is true.
You're not the only one. Well, because I like theories. I like having theories, and Sam will tell you this. I'll be like a year before, I was like, I know what the end game. I know what the movie's going to cost for the end game. And then was like reminded me 12 months later. I was like, yes, I was right. I love being like that. I love having the theories, throwing it out there, and maybe I'm wrong, but I like to like think this could be the logical path, or this could be the secret, or this could be. And when you have a movie that does that, I mean, to me, that's what I like, especially a multi-part franchise or story or whatever. I love doing that. That's one of the joys of seeing it. You know, just am I right? Am I wrong?
I've seen
it's
someone
good to
say
have
this.
different taste. It's good to have different tastes, because I remember that was a good example, that Blade Runner. I remember the first time I saw Blade Runner, I didn't know what was happening, but I knew I was sucked into it. I'm like, I love this. I don't understand it. I'm gonna watch it again, and then I'm like, okay, it's about being human and all that stuff, and it's Deckard the good guy, the bad guy. So it's good to have, at least from my perspective, to have different tastes. Sometimes I love slow movies. Sometimes I love something like Rush Hour 2. Yeah. So if I love something like Rush Hour 2, Dune, and you know, Chicken Run, there's
a place for it all.
There's a place for it all.
Yeah,
it's 3 random movies I just put out.
I want steak every day. I want this today. I might want this tomorrow. I might be in the mood for this. And I think you could, but at the end of the day, I want to feel satisfied. I want to feel like I got a full meal, or I'm looking forward to the next course. So
I would almost be as bold to say though that I do think like people process information better when they experience movies like this, where not everything is being explained to them in like 2-minute intervals. You know what I mean? Like we're like the audience has to fill in the gap. I think it makes people process information better for sure. Like when you realize like the Duke made that look because of X without any dialogue, right? You're just like, oh, like I love processing information.
Imagine if for The Shining, they kept telling us that Jack Torrance is going to go crazy. I mean, you may not think of it, but he's going crazy. And you're like, I could tell he's going effing mad throughout the whole movie. You don't have to tell me that the setting of trapped in a snow storm is going to get him mad. Like I could tell. You don't have to give me spoon fed.
To say all that too, like sorry if I could someone. look, man, I'll throw on a rom-com right now. And I'd watch it. I'd watch a cheesy rom-com. Matter of fact, like most 90% of the time when I'm chilling, because I do so much superhero stuff and sci-fi stuff on the channel. Literally, man, if I'm chilling, I'm like, I'll tell my wife, yo, pull up Lifetime, bro. Let's run something. Let's run something. Let's run a rom-com right now. I will legit watch this and love every minute of it, especially forgetting how cheesy it is and just like accept it as it is. But one thing I want to say that I mentioned, I saw a post that was talking about different directors, and I loved it. It was said Christopher Nolan is if he had a job that wasn't a director, he'd be a psychiatrist. And Denis Villeneuve would be a physician.
Dude,
research projects.
Bro, when I first saw like the first 6 minutes of Tenet, because I saw the prologue when it was in theaters before the movie came out. I remember just being like, I have no idea what just happened, but like I'm so excited to like decipher this bitch and to talk with my buddy on the phone till fucking hours go by trying to figure out what this motherfucker means. You know what I mean? I get that other people's minds don't work that way, but like that was my shit, dog. I'm like, yo, I have so many questions and I'm blown away.
Yeah, I think that there's something to what Jarrell kind of said. That a movie like this that makes you ponder something, makes you think. I think that those stand the test of time, and they're the most least forgettable films that you're like, man, I'm still thinking about that. You know, I think that it's like normal casual viewers, it might be a 50-50. 50% of them may not even care to try, but then the other 50% that really like dig in, it's like, oh wow, what does this really mean?
Yeah.
And once they get engaged, it's gonna stick with them forever.
Yeah.
But then to your point too, Matt, like, I mean, I look at everything. I mean, you know that. All y'all should know that.
Yep.
I look at everything. I was looking at Not Another Teen movie the other day, and I was like, what the heck is this? But then I was like, I'm sitting there laughing, and I was looking at a movie that it really shouldn't work, but I actually like Boss Level, so I ended up looking at this. It was called Cop Shop, and I was like, this is freaking awesome. It's so entertaining. So I think that you can't be closed-minded to a situation. Every movie is going to be a different experience. Yeah. But when you go into it with a certain expectation and you've already made up in your mind what the perception of what it's going to be before you even experienced it, you've cut your legs out, in my personal opinion. I never want to do that. And it's hard being a critic. When you see so many movies, you're like, oh, I ain't got time to be seeing another foolishness like this. But I think as casual viewers that are watching this right now, like, allow yourself to be open up to whatever the experience is going to be and let it take you up. Don't let me or Jarrell or Chris Duckman or Jeremy Johns or whoever persuade you one way or left or right, because your experience could be validly different than our perspective. Because
listen. I was turning up to what was it, 40-Year-Old Virgin the other day, because that's one of the funniest fucking movies.
Hey, look.
Could not be made today, but always funny.
Hey, look, you running the vibes. Huh?
Listen, when that Indian man, when he was talking to that black dude, he had me crying. When he was like, the commission, okay? I cannot turn till the blade has blood. That shit made me laugh so hard.
Yo, dude. So I was looking at, was it like last week? I was looking at Encino Man.
Oh wow!
He's in the Jews, buddy. Like, I mean, I love Encino Man. I haven't watched it in years, but it made me feel the same as that way the first time I saw it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel you, Jarrell. I feel you.
Yeah.
Good, man. I feel like it's good. It's good to because I try to be able to, I don't know, it's gonna sound hella lonely, man, but like I grew up not having a lot of friends, so I would always try to intentionally like learn different things about many different things so that I can try to find a group to fit in with. And that's how I started exposing myself to just different stuff like music, film, art, archery, like all this weird stuff that you would never think. And then the beauty about it all, though, what it all led to is that it allowed me to realize more about myself and like enjoying myself and enjoying just different things and understanding that there is a place for everything. Because I love to have deep theoretical discussions about religion, about conspiracy theories, about this, about policy, about science, about physics. I can listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk for 8 hours. Like I love things like that. But then I can also just sit down and just listen to some stupid comedy thing that doesn't even really make any sense, or look at a stupid TikTok that doesn't even really correlate to anything in life. And it's just it's I don't know. I feel
I just heard the
sometimes
real
people
piano music right now. Your backstory, and I wanted to give you a hug at the same time. I'm glad
man, I'll give you a hug, man. You're friends. You're friends.
Because I love that. Those people are interesting because they love to know new stuff. They learn to experience new things. They love to go through. I love I listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson too when he talked about how there are different levels of infinity, and I was like, yes, there are different levels of infinity. And so, how many numbers are there?
How many? You asking me?
No, just how many numbers are there in existence? How many numbers are there?
You can't count them.
On
42.
Right.
You can't count them.
40.
And then
You just can't count them.
Odd numbers. How many odd numbers are there? Infinite. And so he was
infinite
there are less
odd numbers.
Odd numbers than there are numbers, but they're still both infinite. Anyway, I love things like that. So yeah, and the writer of Dune was also like that. He talks about having formal education. You learn about cultures, you learn about language and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome.
Speaking of our love for cinema and all that stuff.
I don't know if
Oh,
No, you're good.
you're good, man.
you still hear me?
Speaking, yeah. The love of cinema that we have for each for us individually, they did it. They announced it. Part 2 It's coming out in 2 years. So, Ant, don't spoil anything. How bombastic is it going to be to reach this level of part 1, and what can we expect? Because I'll say this: we didn't see Gurney die. We didn't see Thufir, I think his name is, the Mentad. We didn't see him die. And from what I've seen of interviews with Josh Brolin, it's like
we got somebody that's in the building real quick that wants to shoot his shot and let us know what he thinks about Dune Part 1, and then I guess his conclusion thoughts. And I got here Jedi Mike. What's going on?
Hey,
what up?
What up, dude?
You muted. There you go.
Yeah, there I go. Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up, man?
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, just got off work and stuff.
So I'm gonna give you all the questions, and you can just be real quick about them. All right.
Cool.
So first question was, how do you feel about the film? What was your favorite character and why? And then the last thing was, what was the thing you thought was kind of like, it could have been better, or nitpicky things? You can just real quick.
Yeah. So favorite character. Surprise! I'll say in terms of my favorite character is what I thought was an improvement from the original. Like it's easy to say, Timothée Chalamet, easy to say Zendaya or whatever like that. I'm actually gonna go Jason Momoa for Duncan. That was just like really because I watched. It's a guilty pleasure for me for the original film. And me and my dad we were kind of into old movies and stuff. So I was already well in. I also read the books and stuff, so I knew what I portrayed Duncan to be more of the warrior type. When I saw the original film by David Lynch, it wasn't what I expected. But with Jason Momoa, he embodied what that was, especially that moment when he thought he got stabbed and he came back up and he pulled that mess out of his chest and still kept on going. That was Duncan I remember from the novel. So I was just so I was, even though it was a brief time, I still thought that was one of my favorites. But also to one of the points I said might have been improvement on what they could have done, because one of my friends said I don't know if they could have improved anything. But I think there's a point of we'll kind of get more of that in terms of the second part, in terms of the overall scheme of it, because there's so much that could have convoluted in this, in terms of especially with Paul's powers and abilities, formulating, and the also the way for an audience is going in blind, not knowing in terms of like if it's actually a future or is it a false narrative. If you read the books, So I felt like one thing they should have done was really there's a pacing. Really in the middle of the act. I know they try to split in the book, two parts, but it was a part where they kept going through sand, just walking. Like my favorite scene was with him and his mother in the tent and him visions of the future. That was my favorite scene. But then after that, it just, you're going down through a sandstorm and another one, and you're walking through sand again, and you're walking and again and again and again, and then you got some mess with the Baron and shit, and then you kept walking, That's what shout out to Jay King was talking about, like the doc is like I hate sand, man. After watching the movie, I'm like yeah, I get it. But that was it. That was the only pacing of that moment. But I felt they could have stretched it, but I know they kind of get to the service because this was a Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring ending. And if anyone doesn't even know like what I'm talking about, it's like don't feel like this film was all unsatisfying ending. Felt lackluster in the end, just ending the knife fight. Like no. This is like Lord of the Rings. Oh hey, there's a mountain. Let's go. Ending. And that's it. Part two. That's it. So but that's this. I put this on par for me for Blade Runner, hands down. Interesting.
In
terms of, I had to watch this several times to, in terms of just visually, in terms of cinematography going into it. It was a masterpiece to me, but I think in terms of this, probably on par in terms of book adaptations. Obviously, is it like Citizen Kane? No, but as Isaac said, it's up there to I put Blade Runner. Like I have not seen in terms of actual science fiction and not just like science blockbuster with action in terms of more of the theatrical part of what sci-fi draws viewers. Like you saw Tower of Madness, like he did not like this best at all. So, but yeah.
Well, so
wait, who would you say didn't like it?
Tower of Madness. He was sleeping through this shit.
It's not surprising from that nigga, but
we're gonna just move on from that point. So now going into what Ronan was talking about. Now that we got our Green Ranger is finally here, let's talk about
part two.
My man. Yes, sir. Cue the Birdman hands, bro. The Birdman hands.
So, how many of you guys were just ecstatic? And what are your thoughts? How do you feel? Like it's coming out October 2023, only 2 years away. It's really not going to take that much time.
Nope.
This year went by quick, so those 2 years are gonna go by like that. Scary enough, in a weird, mortal way. Those 2 years are gonna go like that. And it's just
the "This is fine" meme. Is fine meme.
The fine meme.
This is fine.
This
when
is
the
fine.
the dog.
Oh, okay,
yeah. That's me right now in my brain. I was just like, it's okay. It's okay. It'll go back.
It was Sam who told me because I was off Twitter. He's like, yo. And I was like, what? I went on Twitter.
I was like, bro.
I went on Twitter and I saw the logo. I'm like, I went full Will Smith in the church in Fresh Prince. I was just like, I fainted like 2 times. I'm like, oh god.
Dude. I felt like Will Smith at the end of Pursuit of Happiness when he's walking through the crowd.
Yeah. somehow, because of the theatrical release,
Jedi Mike got it to the teeth.
Oh, dude.
Somehow this movie made it with the theatrical release and same day or early day HBO Max release. Somehow, I don't know how this happened. I mean, no surprise because Denis and the Dune story, but I was worried because of how Suicide Squad ended up. Which I still love it and it's great, but I was just like, oh, I hope this movie doesn't go the same way that Blade Runner Blade Runner 2049. I was so devastated when it didn't lit the world on fire, even though it's an amazing film. But I'm like, okay, thank God. I'm like, all right, let's go, part 2.
Like literally,
I think
it was like bumper to bumper in there.
So it was me. I played it all day, so they got the multiple views up.
Oh.
Playing in the back.
So okay, I'm gonna ask a better question. If we found out instead of today they got greenlit, but instead like this is not gonna be made, how would y'all felt?
Oh, missed opportunity. This would have been the next. Should I even say it? No,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say
do
it. No, I'm not gonna say it. I would say something. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Is DC
it would have been. Yeah, yeah, but in a more kinder way, we'd just be like, "This is great cinema," instead of, never mind. I'm not even gonna tell people.
I'll be careful how I say this. I'm just glad it wasn't just up to WB. That's all I'll say. I'm glad that it wasn't just up to them. I'm glad the decision. I'm saying that with a grain of salt, but like, I'm glad Legendary had the hammer in this decision. In my opinion, just because I would have feared for it.
That's where I saw the post. Legendary Pictures is Twitter. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
We had a numbers guy in the chat talking about how this wasn't doing this well, and they might not make it. And I was feeling like this is going to be like Firefly all over again, getting canceled. Something
Perfect.
Or it's been a tough year. Berserk's not going to finish with the original author. I can't take any more disappointment. So I'm glad.
Hey, when that Hunter sequel comes,
right? I'm gonna have to do it.
Right.
I have never looked into a box office like score of how it was going to do. I have never done that with another movie. This was that movie. That's how I was connected with this movie. I'm like, all right, let's see how much they make in the box office. Okay, Go ahead.
No, sorry. No, I was gonna say like the one thing I know. I think this is kind of movie. Even if it didn't finish, someone just got their spark love of sci-fi and fantasy and things. So even if it didn't finish, somebody picked up a book like I'm gonna figure out the story. And then invest in all these other things. So some new geeks, next generation of geeks was born. And I love that when I see something that I know did that to the community.
Yeah. I think that so Lucas, who's the other part of Team JVS, he's the numbers guy that Anthony's talking about, and we talked about it early on that when everything transpired with the day-and-day release with Warner Bros. What they were doing and how they were doing it, and the sacrifice they was making to the box office. When everything hit the fan and Denis and Christopher Nolan, they got upset, and even Wonder Woman's director, Warner Bros. Had to pay them up front. They had to pay every actor, had to pay Legendary straight out. And the reason why the box office didn't matter is because they were like, well, I want to make sure this profits and helps HBO Max because I've already paid for all this. So, and Lucas was like, because they've already paid for it already, they should be able to get a part 2 regardless, because at this point, that's the same thing with Patty Jenkins. She's getting a 113 because they've already been paid for it. And so I was kind of like, I was thinking it was going to happen, but more than anything, I was like, why would the execs allow Denis to put in the very opening of his movie part 1? Because I wouldn't do that. I was like, once I screen this with the execs, I'm like, no, we can't have that. No. Like, we haven't decided whether or not we're gonna do that. So I was very cautiously optimistic, but I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, it's about to get announced by the end of this year. I just didn't anticipate how many people wanted this, how many people really like and love this movie. That's what I could have never anticipated that.
It's been trending on Twitter for longer than I thought it would. And then also the part 1, I feel too, which is also why I wasn't as shocked with the announcement, but I was happy because I just felt it. I felt it in my spirit that it was going to be good. We was going to get a second part anyway, because like you said, Sam, like they said part 1 in the beginning. So I'm like, okay, so they already made a decision on this. Okay, I feel like they might have already made a decision because knowing WB how they operate, right? they don't like sometimes. Look, I'll say this: when it comes to promises with them, they don't like to make them all the time because they know most of the time they don't like to keep them, or they can't keep them depending on how things go in the box office, or depending on how things go with how many people watching it on at home or streaming it on HBO Max, yada yada. So I'm like, okay, the fact that I saw part 1, I was like, okay, that they actually made a decision on this. So that gave me the confidence that a part 2 was going to come regardless. So yeah,
that's like basically that girl said, I'm gonna get you ask for a number and say, I'll call you back. Nah, at least that's our WB.
You never know, she will meet somebody else with a nicer car.
Yeah. You ain't the only nigga with a fresh fade.
I'm never calling you back, Bermuda. Like,
But yeah, you made a good point though about the bot. Like, I was like, I was guaranteeing hopefully that was gonna come through. But looking just at the theater, it was bumper to bumper, elbow to elbow in that theater. It was Avengers level like pack in that theater. And I have not like since pandemic, I have not seen in a very long time, and it put a lot of pieces just in my heart, just like the fact that we saw Shang-Chi and other stuff like that, just in terms of films. But with this, is that I was hoping this would be very consistent in terms of actually having the audience to come and not go on HBO Max, at least for the first viewing. Cause I'm trying to project the second week drop, and I'm seeing that's what I'm really concerned about. The hopefully that basically kind of determines like the HBO Max relationship, with this film, but obviously guarantee a sequel. So, I mean, everything's the odds in our favor.
Right. And I think I was gonna say we should have a moment where we should talk about like things we're anticipating for the next one, but two of y'all ninjas have already gone through the book, so I feel like it's not a good taste to try to do that.
I ruined something for Sam. I feel sorry, Sam. I couldn't take it any longer.
Hey, look, it's all good. I've kept it under wraps, and I actually kind of think I needed it, to be honest, so I could be something excited about.
The only thing I can say about Dune 2 is that I really feel like I guess this first movie was his level of like hand holding. So like I feel like in the sequel he's gonna have free reign to just sort of like we don't have to sit around explaining anymore. We can kind of just go nuts.
He said that. So appetizer.
I'm really excited about that aspect. We don't need to introduce who Bruce Wayne is or who you already know who Bruce Wayne is. You already know what the fuck the Batcave is. So now we can really sort of get into the meat of things and sort of unpacking what some of these more mysterious characters are, like Javier Bardem's character, for example. We don't get to spend a lot of time with. And I really hope they dig into if Duncan Idaho comes back, I hope they dig into even more world building. And I'm really curious as to if Paul Atreides really is going down a villainous route, as I feel oddly that he is. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, for sure. I anticipate things getting very dark if I know Denis. So
they hinted at there is another.
Mm-hmm. I would like to know, like, if he truly is the Muad'Dib, the chosen one as well, because it seems very alluded to. It's just for me, again, I feel like he's almost just walking into villainous territory. So I'm kind of confused with what the story is trying to tell me. Am I watching like Anakin Skywalker?
Jedi might watch it. I
see him.
Watch it, brother. Watch it, brother.
This is why I didn't want to go down this route. This is why I didn't want to go down this route.
I mean,
right now.
I'm saying those are the things that intrigue me the most about Dune 2. Like, how can we get even trippier? How can we get richer with the characters?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about casting. I'm curious if they're going to cast the Emperor. I'm curious if they're going to cast certain other characters I've seen in the sci-fi series. That's where I'm kind of at. Denis has already won me over. I'm just curious where the acting is going to go and the actors, actresses.
Michael Caine is Emperor, but he's retired, so what? That's not gonna happen.
I hope that this movie does. It keeps gaining momentum, and in the it does like great record numbers, depending on how the world is in 2 years.
Word of mouth,
Yeah, and for that, because again, these first two movies are one book, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 6 books. They go over, like, they span several thousand years. So
there's the extension books too, I think, that he made.
There's also prequels, right, about the houses.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 7,000 years in the future. We have things you can do. So this could be. And the thing is, because how he wrote these books, everything was kind of, I don't want to say it was planned out, but it all fit together. So things pay off that are set up, but they don't pay off for another 2,000 years type of thing. So I hope these do well. And because I'm getting a complete Dune, the first book movie. So now can I be a little bit more hopeful? Be like, am I going to get a second one? Am I going to get that Children of Dune? Am I going to get the God Emperor? Am I going to get that? Am I going to get more of this stuff? And because this could be a Star Wars franchise. This could be a you can go forward and backwards. They're doing a TV show. You could have.
I was just about to mention that. We forgot to mention that they're supposed to be doing a spinoff series.
HBO Max show. Yeah.
Would you not watch a backstory of Duncan Idaho? Would you not watch, how he got this reputation?
I want to know the lore. I want to know about the houses. That's how crazy this movie made me. I'm like, all right, let's see the houses. See how that came about. Why have we spilling
blood for centuries? What's been going on? What's going on with y'all?
Mm-hmm.
Why was Leto so popular? Why do people like it so much? Those are good questions.
Did I do a good job, Sam? Did I do a good job? I didn't say nothing.
I think we played it real safe to the cuff. Just to say, what is our scores for this movie, and then we're gonna close out. What's the score that you give this movie?
Oh man. Let it be known that ideas and thoughts and feelings about films change over time.
Yep.
I give it right now. I want to say 10 out of 10 for me right now. I mean, I can't describe how. Take away Dune, Denis Villeneuve impacted me when I saw Sicario. I remember seeing Sicario and be like, all right, this is a cat. I gotta keep an eye out for what he does. And he hasn't done a bad film in my opinion. And I'm gonna leave it 10 out of 10. I don't know where I rank it among my favorites of his. Sicario and Blade Runner 2049 are up there, but this came out swinging from all sides: directing, acting, cinematography, score. All sides were just swinging. I'm like, all right. So as of right now, I give it a 10 out of 10. I really, really dug this movie and want to know more.
Right. Jedi Mike, what about you?
After from one reading, we're not only reading the books, but over analyzing this film for the past 2 days before I even want to make a video myself, because the thoughts were, I was speechless. Me and my friend were speechless after when the credits roll, and as I'm processing this in terms of not only in terms of score, not only in terms of scope, narrative of the story, but also just an impact in terms of science fiction, just the medium, what actually might be setting the trend, might be breaking, from traditional sci-fi films that we've seen throughout history. But I gotta say that at where I'm at right now, I'm gonna say, even though 10 out of 10 is hard for me, I say 10 out of 10 for the importance. I say 9 of this film. I say 9. I say 9.5, 10 in terms of the scope of this film, because it's very hard for me to give a film 10 out of 10. That's just me. But this is one of the most important sci-fi films I've seen in a long time, and I think that we're going to continue to have this conversation more years to come. That's my point.
That's great. Anthony, what about you? What did you rate this?
I'm going to give it a 9, but as a 9, then I know that when it's completed, when I get part 2, it's probably going to be a 10. It's kind of like how Captain America, the first movie, was a good movie, solid movie, but then you get a Winter Soldier in there, it makes the first movie even better. So I feel like that's where I'm going to be at with this movie. So 9, even though I liked it. Also because they didn't wear sunglasses in the desert, that's bothering me. So besides
that, waiting for no literal reason.
For no everything else, you got these suits and recycling water and these tents, but no eye protection.
The man got an umbrella for his skin.
Right, like that bothers me. I've been trying to get over it. I've been trying to not be that petty, but that cost you 10, guys. I'm sorry.
That's hilarious. Matt, what about you?
The starter car, they had helmets and stuff, but I give it like a 9.5 out of 10, just because I rarely give things a 10, just because we're humans, we're imperfect beings, so there's always ways that we can always improve something.
Don't do my job evaluation.
I'm just saying. I mean, we can always improve in little areas, man. Honestly. So, but besides that, just a fantastic movie, just a fantastic film, and one of the best. Besides The Expanse, which I think is one of the best sci-fi series right now in terms of world building and slow burns and stuff. This is one of the best things I've seen in the last 10 years of my time watching just sci-fi movies and everything like that. So definitely it will stand the test of time, and it will become very legendary, I think, within the next decade or two.
All right. Jarrell?
Sorry
about that. My man knocked out.
Got some spice.
Sorry. I couldn't unmute. But yeah, no. So for me, I do just want to say real quick that in my personal opinion, even 10 out of 10s are flawed. I believe that anything stemming from people or humans is flawed because people are innately flawed. So even 10 out of 10 movies are actually flawed. They're not literally perfect, in my personal opinion. But
what about Shawshank?
I said what I said.
I'm with you, Dorel. I said the same thing. I just
Morgan Freeman's voice might be a 10 out of 10 perfect, but but no, but yeah, Dune is an easy 10 out of 10 for me. I haven't really seen something like this since like I first saw Lord of the Rings or 2001 or Solaris or the original Alien. It's like that kind of movie for me. Like this is like big, and I don't think that a lot of people realize that this is a passion project for the director has loved Dune since this man was like 12 years old. If you ask him any day of the week, like the most important movie for him to make would be Dune, adapting Dune. So yeah, this was just huge for me. It's an easy 10 out of 10 masterpiece.
For me, I initially gave this movie, just like Ronan said, I think over time, progressionally, you come to either feel differently about a film for the negative or for the positive. For me, the longer I sit with this film, the more I've seen this film, I really, truly appreciate the world that is unraveling in front of me from a cinematic standpoint. So whereas I had it at an 8, 8 out of 10 the first time I saw it, I have it right now at a 9 out of 10. I do kind of feel like what Anthony said, I feel like when I can have both of these films and just watch them all the way through, I'm just gonna inherently just like hold them in the same standard together, because like you can't do one without the other, and it'll probably end up being a masterpiece at the end of the day from a cultural standpoint. Like there's so much that is been done in this film and cemented that really we still really haven't really completely unpacked. They started, like Jarrell and Matt really started diving in when it came to the score, but there's so many different levels to cinematography, from acting, from blocking, from directing, from storytelling, from sci-fi progression, from adaptational level. Like we really just scratched the surface, even though we've been doing this for 2 hours and 32 minutes. So yeah, I don't have anything else. Ronan said 11 out of 10, really. But yeah, I think we're done, you guys. You guys got anything else? I think we did the daggone thing.
This was awesome. I'll say this because I'm a big Oscar Isaac fan. That line when he tells Lady Jessica, "We protect our son," she said, "with my life." I'm not asking his mother. I'm asking the Bene Gesserit. Is that how you say it? There you go. Bene Gesserit. I'm asking the Bene Gesserit, and I'm like, ooh, that's killer line, which I dug. This was a blast. What this movie did, brought us together to talk about this, is what I love about cinema. As much as I love the experience, is when I get to get out of the theater and be like, all right, who else feels shocked by this? We have to talk about it. And what the hell does this mean? And this mean? And da 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 da.
Somebody gave you a shout out, Jedi Mike, on your Squid Game.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Halloween. Yeah, Halloween.
Even though I have not seen that yet, some kind of
Me
way.
neither. Me neither. I know. I'm behind.
Holy shit.
Girl, you know how busy I've been, dude. You know how busy I've been. I ain't got
Fam,
time
it's
to do
the
that.
number one show in the
I
internet.
don't care. I ain't got time. I'm getting movies before they're coming out and shows before they're coming out. I ain't even seen Invasion yet. So I'm just saying, yeah, anyway. We're gonna end on that note. Yeah, I'm gonna give everybody the opportunity to plug themselves.
Yeah.
Matt, go ahead and plug.
Well, I gotta go first.
Man, do that. Get out of here. I got children screaming upstairs.
No, man. As always, love talking to both of y'all and everyone. Some of y'all I met for the first time. Jedi Mike and Anthony, you guys are great. And definitely had a great conversation about this. And yeah, definitely check me out on YouTube, Matthew E. Haynes, where we can talk about more stuff like this. I'm screaming 90% of the time, and I don't know what I'm saying 90% of the time. But there you go. Subscribe.
There it is.
Oh my goodness. Jedi Mike, where can people find you, bro?
You can find me on Jedi Mike 7 on Instagram and YouTube. Do reviews, news, and truth. I just want to say thank you. I know I just had work from 7 to 10, and I thank you guys, some of you guys personally now face to face and stuff. It's a true honor to look up to you guys, content creators. Yeah, you can find me on Jedi Mike 7 on YouTube. You see Ronan there, see Jay King in there. We catch it up sometimes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a huge honor to be up here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in the clutch last minute.
Yeah, man.
The reference with Tommy was because you're the sixth person and you had green on. That's what it was. Not Anthony, where can people find you, dude?
Earth 2 Comic Cast. I'm so bad at this. I guess they're on your channel sometimes. Yeah, so anywhere. I don't know. Just put the ant signal in the air and you'll find me.
I put his Instagram in the description below, so follow him on Instagram. Oh my goodness! That's why I was asking you about you. Anyway, we're gonna talk about it later. Jarrell,
Yeah. I'm gonna get better at it. I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. Hit me up, likes. I'll do it one day. I'll get it.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, my information should be somewhere down below, hopefully. But other than that, I go by Drell's Alexandria on YouTube. I cover mostly movie, TV show, album type of information, movie news. Do a lot of reviews, stuff like that. So that's what I'm on 24/7.
Man, you make me feel good about myself. God dang, go ahead.
And definitely check me out on Twitter. I might have to add that down below. I don't think people realize how active I am on Twitter. I'm on there all the time. So, but yeah.
Oh my
Also,
gosh!
subscribe to him on Twitch.
You know what? We're gonna leave you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe to Ronin Unchained. Make sure you subscribe to TeamJVS. This is a dope collaboration. We'll be back for whatever the next big thing is. I don't know if there's anything bigger than this outside of the Matrix and Spider-Man, but we'll be back.
Also, shout out before we leave, TeamJVS. Congratulations for getting 52K subscribers. Gentlemen, give a round of applause. If I could, in a no pandemic world, I would send you mariachis right now.
I'll cross that bridge, man. I'll send you. No, yeah, man. There's many blessings to come. There's just the beginning, man. Yeah, honestly.
Hell yeah.
I appreciate it, you guys.
My man.
Now 100,000.
Hey,
do it again.
If that shit happens by next year, you're a prophet, bro. On that note, we're gonna go, you guys. And y'all take care. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that post notification button, and follow all these guys in the description bar below. We out.
Adios.